And a good Thursday morning. Oh, it is a good Thursday morning, everybody. Welcome into Ben and Woods.
Hang on.
You want to do it?
We got to do it.
I guess so. All right. Yeah! That's more than just for last night.
All right, proceed.
That's for a season series win over the Los Angeles Dodgers for your San Diego Padres. First time since I was
Padres. Let's show them how it's done.
Almost when that song was new. It's first time since I was a young man of 34 years old. The last time the Padres took a season series from the Dodgers. Paulie, how old were you then?
I was
14 years
20
ago?
years old.
20 years old.
Yeah.
Still a student at San Diego State University.
Yeah, second year. How about that?
Last time, 7-3 record against the LA Dodgers with just 3 games remaining this season. That's called clinching the season series last night. And, of course, we will get into all of it. But I have to tell you, Woodsy's still on vacation, day 3. After today, we'll be halfway done with Woods' vacation time, at least show-wise. He'll be back next Wednesday from his Hawaiian trip. Have not heard from him at all. Did he text at all yesterday? He was very active.
He was off the grid yesterday.
He was very active on Tuesday, the day he left, and obviously the incredible comeback win, and we were kind of just normally texting back and forth like we always do. Yesterday, he went kind of off the grid, vacation mode silent, which is good.
Which is good. That's how it should be.
He's on vacation. We shouldn't be hearing from him that often. I hope that's a good sign and not a bad sign. It really could go either way. It could be because he's so now relaxed and into full vacation mode, put the phone away for a while. The weather's great. Maybe he's got some time away from the kids. I know his in-laws are there. They can watch the kids a little bit. He and Hannah are having some, time together on vacation.
I'm sure.
Or it could be completely different. It could be chaos. The vacation is not going well, and he doesn't even have time to text us.
Dragging 2 small children on hikes.
Got stung by a man-o-war or something. I mean, I assume we would have heard about that. That would have been the first thing he texted us. Here, Dave, I've already been stung by a man-o-war. I'm in the emergency room here in the islands, but I haven't heard from Woods in a while, so I hope he's doing well.
I agree. I did not hear from him. I think he texted me once yesterday. He texted us a little bit during the show. He was on with us. And then after that, it was
But after that, very quiet.
yeah,
So
as it should be.
hopefully he's doing well. But as I was saying, a little nervous today. As you might have seen if you follow us on social media or if you follow one Ted Leitner. Uncle Teddy's going to be in studio later this morning.
Or if you listen to our show, we've mentioned it 3 times.
Yes, we have mentioned it a couple of times. He's going to guest host starting in our 8 o'clock hour. Going to be sitting right where Woodsy usually sits. And I'm looking forward to having Uncle Teddy in studio. But I'm also obviously
You're nervous.
a little nervous about it. He's a Padres Hall of Famer. One of just 17 to be inducted in the 55-year history of the San Diego Padres. So it's a very exclusive San Diego club.
Oh, yeah.
Calling Padres baseball for over 40 years. Television legend, in your living rooms every night.
Radio legend.
Calling Aztecs, radio legend. And
done it all.
Honestly, the person who my career has been most closely modeled after. Being a local TV sports anchor, having a morning radio program. The only thing I really haven't done, Teddy had all the play-by-play experience as well, and I haven't done that much play-by-play, but I just find it incredible what he's been able to jam in to, obviously, it's San Diego. And, he called the Chargers, he called the Aztecs, he called the Clippers, he called the Padres. I may be missing some things, but he literally has had a finger in every San Diego sports pie for like the last half century. So whether you are a fan of Uncle Teddy or whether you can't stand Uncle Teddy, and I know that there are people who really fall on both sides of that, he is undoubtedly the most significant sportscaster that this city has ever seen.
Oh, without a doubt.
No doubt.
When I moved down here in 2009, I don't want to say I didn't like Ted or his style. It was an acquired taste, though. And once I once I kind of got it, once it clicked for me, I'm like, he's one of the best I've ever heard. He's so good.
It's not to say
whether it's your Padres, my Padres.
Yeah, and I don't want to,
style
downgrade anyone else. Jerry Coleman's in the Hall of Fame and was amazing calling Padres games. But in terms of the versatility, what Ted can do and the way he could anchor a television sportscast, and they would give him, I'm going to ask him about it a little bit, because he would get more time in one night than I probably get in a week. In a normal sportscast, they would just sit him down and go, here's 7 minutes, go, just it's yours. And he would, without a prompter, he would sit there and they'd have him some video clips,
talk show on the news.
Yeah, and he would just narrate just off the cuff. I'm sure he had some thoughts, but maybe a note or two, but it just seemingly off the cuff every night. He'd sit down on camera goes on, the light goes on. Highlights come up and just go Uncle Teddy, and it was absolutely incredible. And then he'd manage this entire schedule, traveling with the Padres and calling games, and then getting up in the morning. And I don't know how many years he did that, but he had a morning radio show like we do. It really is a remarkable sportscasting career. And he stayed here in San Diego, grew up in New York, obviously, and then went to Oklahoma State, I think, and then made his way out to San Diego. But then didn't leave. He probably could have gone back to New York, but
We've seen it happen a million
sure,
times.
Absolutely. But
people in media, they just use San Diego. It's a stepping stone to Los Angeles, or the next big thing.
Made his just home here, his career here, a life here, and he's as much I consider him as much a native San Diegan as anyone, even though technically he wasn't born here. I mean he's pretty San Diego. Ted Leitner, if you
He's
have watched television
narrator of San Diego sports.
Exactly, just of my lifetime. So looking forward to having Uncle Teddy in here. And it sounds like he's looking forward to coming in. He tweeted about it last night.
San Diego's new Ted Leitner.
I don't remember why you said that a couple of years ago, but I got it.
A pale imitation. There's nothing like the original. There's the original
San
Coke.
Diego's new Ted Leitner.
At best, I'm the new formula, which is always not quite as good. So looking forward to that. Otherwise, Paulie, how was your day yesterday?
Day was good. I did not do a whole lot. Just got to relax, and Wednesdays are in between Tier 1 basketball on Tuesdays, and then we have Tier 1 baseball. We got nighttime baseball tonight.
Wow.
Up in Escondido. So, yeah, like a 6:30 first pitch under the lights. So I just relaxed, got some laundry done yesterday.
Schedule makers are aggressive with the Tier 1s this week.
We have a game tonight. We have a game on Sunday, and then we have a game next Tuesday, which I will be missing. I have Tier 1 basketball that same night. I can't do both. 3 games.
Can't
in
do the
4
old
days.
Deion Sanders thing and have
Not
like
at the same time.
Helicopter take you from one event to the other and get out and dramatically arrive at halftime, maybe of your basketball game or something.
Escondido to it's Alliant Universities where we play basketball. So like Miramar, it'd be I could maybe do 1 inning of baseball and then haul ass over to basketball, but no. Not going to make that happen.
I had my own competition of sorts yesterday.
I have been waiting. Did I ask you once how it went?
You didn't.
I want to hear everything.
It wasn't quite a sporting event. It was the messy Sunday making contest at Sammy's at 7 Mile, which I was entered in yesterday, playing for charity for the Emo Brown Foundation. Chance to win $2,500, and all I had to do was craft my own messy sundae, Sammy's famous desserts. And if I won, not only would I win $2,500 for the Emo Brown Foundation, but the winning sundae was going to be put on the menu at Sammy's for the next year. All the Sammy's in San Diego would feature the winning messy sundae.
So set it up. You were given, was it like...
So I was given a list of ingredients, like what they already have in their kitchen that they have to work with. And then I was allowed to bring a special ingredient as well of my own that could be basically fairly easily acquired. They had to pre-approve it, like something that wasn't on the list, and then add it to it and make it my own sundae. Make it your own, Paulie.
Okay.
So there were 6 competitors, various media personalities, a couple of radio people from other stations, a couple of television people from Spanish language stations, because it was down in Chula Vista, and it was the mayor of Chula Vista was there, by the way. Mayor John, he's a big Tier 1 of the show.
Morning,
And,
Mayor John.
The assistant mayor, and then Sammy Ledecky was one of the judges in the Chula Vista Chamber of Commerce. So we're kind of doing a South Bay thing and something good for the community. And they were all playing for different charities. And everyone got their turn. And the first, you'd go up and you would make kind of a presentation and introduce. I had Caesar, our friend who was representing Emo Brown. He was kind of my sous chef, and he talked about the foundation. And then you start making the sundaes. And the first 4 competitors went. And
How many did you have to make?
just one Sunday, and then they kind of each passed it around, took a bite, and moved on. And it was judged on, taste, presentation, creativity, the name, and the story that you kind of put together for it. So first 4 contestants went, and I felt really confident. I felt like my Sunday, my idea was definitely going to be something that they might want to put on their menu. And none of the first 4, no offense to any other competitors, I can't see this going on a restaurant menu. I just can't. So it came to our turn.
Were they too extra?
Yeah, just too many ingredients, like, pear syrup and coconut and ube and just said marzipan, and I go, okay, I get it. You things you like, and totally, but I just don't know that this is going to be a popular seller. Sammy's putting this on his menu. He doesn't want nobody to order it. So I went with a real crowd pleaser in my idea, because they wanted to kind of tie it into the cross-border and cultural heritage. So I went with a Mexican mud pie sundae. So I made kind of the Mexican chocolate sauce with a little bit of the cinnamon to spice it up, caramel sauce, toffee chips, and then my ingredient, which wasn't on the list that I brought, is Oreo cookies. And I had Caesar smash them all up into crumbles and put them all in the sundae and smash them on the side, and then almonds for the nut, because those are usually in mud pies, and then whipped cream and like a big Oreo on top for the good presentation. And we did the story. I thought it went really well. Judges seemed to really enjoy it, and I'm going, okay, I've got this in the bag. All I have to do is survive the final contestant. And so we move on, and I go, I'm feeling really good about this. And then the last contestant comes on, a woman from Channel 12, which, again, Spanish language, and she comes up, and they're playing for the San Ysidro Health Centers, and she's got her rep, and they have like a whole speech prepared, written out. I mean, it is they have taken this very, very seriously. They have practiced several times their Sunday, had a great name for it, the Berry Messy Sunday, and they went with a slightly healthier version.
What was your name?
Mine was the Mexican mud pie.
Mexican mud pie.
So they go with the berry messy sundae. And so they go with blueberries and strawberries and syrup, and then there's chocolate and whipped cream on top. And they're going a little healthier, a little change of pace. And I go, okay, I felt really good about it. It's still ice cream. It's not
ice cream,
healthy,
chocolate, and a couple of pieces of fruit.
Yeah, it's just a couple of pieces of fruit, but I could see the judges, and I could see going, I kind of, this is a little different. I kind of like this idea. And wouldn't you know, I ended up finishing second to the Berry Messy Sunday, and I lost the Messy Sunday making contest.
Number 2.
Yeah.
Dang.
I mean, second place is just first loser, so.
Yours sounds really good.
I thought so too.
Will you make Mexican mud pie sundaes for me and Woods on Wednesday?
We should do that. I need to get all the ingredients. It was very messy. By the way, they needed about 5 minutes to clean up the area after we had kind of trashed the whole thing with the messy sundae that we made. But they still, 7 Mile still donated $500 to the Emo Brown Foundation, which was really cool. And unfortunately, my menu creation will not be available at Sammy's at 7 Mile for the next year. If you want to get the Berry Messy Sundae, though, you'll probably be able to order that one.
Well, that's too bad. I'm glad you got to experience that. That sounds fun.
Yeah, it was fun. Oh, you know what?
First type of challenge competition like that for you?
I think I did many years ago with Sammy's as well. I think I did a media pizza making contest. I didn't win that one either.
Okay,
but
one of these 30 times the charm.
I watch enough food network, those kind of programs that I felt like, oh, this is my chance. I've always wanted to do this. I want to win. Guess it's just not in the cards. But if only one winner could be yesterday, I'd rather it be the San Diego Padres. And they certainly got a good win yesterday. We will talk about that coming up. The 8-1 win over the Los Angeles Dodgers last night. We've got, other than Ted Leitner, we also have other guests, a good show. We'll set the menu for you when we come back. Getting excited here for a Throwback Thursday. It's Ben and Paul Reindl as Woodsy continues his vacation, but things going pretty well back here in San Diego on San Diego's #1 sports station. Here's Kelly with traffic on 97.3 The Fan. If you're joining us on the YouTube stream, some people in the chat are wondering about your background choice today, Paulie.
What background?
What background? I guess you're just going to have to tune into the YouTube stream to find out. Paulie tempting the baseball gods again. Are you not worried that there would be karmic retribution for your choice?
Wasn't worried last time. Not worried this time.
I'm not either. But I'm not superstitious. You know me. Unlike, Woodsy is definitely superstitious.
He would be doing this too.
He would, probably. So join us, please, on the YouTube stream. You can pop us up on your smart television, and you can watch as you're getting ready. I know a lot of Tier 1s obviously listen, in their car, on their way to work or school in the morning. But make sure you join us even earlier on the YouTube stream every single day. And if you miss any of it, of course, you can go back later and watch the whole thing on YouTube or catch us on the Odyssey app, or we podcast as well on all the various podcast platforms. And we got a really good show planned for you today. In addition to Uncle Teddy, Padres Hall of Famer Ted Leitner, who's going to be in studio starting in our 8 o'clock hour. Obviously, coming up, we've got our Padres Wrap-Up, and we will discuss last night's 8-1 win over Clayton Kershaw and the Los Angeles Dodgers. Dylan Cease following up his no-hitter with another solid performance on the mound as the Padres win for the 9th time in 10 games since the, and the 9th time in 11 games since the All-Star break, and 9th out of their last 10 to remain in the wild card picture in what has been a pretty busy National League since the All-Star break and since the trade deadline now, with a lot of teams playing well. So we'll get into the game coming up in our next segment. Then at 7 o'clock, we'll play Real or Fake on a Throwback Thursday. Last chance this week. I know it's August. I think we're wrapping up our July qualifications for the trip to Las Vegas, the 2 nights at the Rio, and the dinner for 2 in the daybed. So a chance to get in. No musical knowledge required today. It's just Real or Fake coming up at 7 o'clock. Then 7:20, we'll get into Don't Do This. 7:35, after we gave him the day off yesterday to celebrate his birthday, we will have a postponed Adam Jones with us. And Adam can give us his thoughts on what happened to the trade deadline. Obviously, he's been here following the Orioles and what's been going on. They lost Jordan Westberg to a broken hand, I think. He got hit, injured, which is a tough one for them. We just saw the Orioles last week when they took on the Padres. So, but they made some moves at the break as well. He'll have some thoughts on the Padres coming up at 7:35. Again, Uncle Teddy in our 8 o'clock hour. Looking forward to that. And then 9 o'clock hour at 9:35, Eno Sarris is going to join us a little later than usual, but we wanted to make sure we caught up with Eno. And I am curious what Eno has to say. He's got all the stuff plus numbers, and I really want him to do kind of a deep dive on the revamped Padres bullpen and what it looks like now after the additions. I mean, we'll get into it here, but it now looks really, really deep. I mean, when you have Alec Jacob coming in last night, striking out the side in the 7th inning, and Alec Jacob's been really good since they brought him back up. In fact, he's been good every time they've brought him to the big leagues, the 2 times he's been up there. And I kind of went through it, and legitimately, he's probably the number 7 option for Mike Shildt out of the Padres bullpen right now.
Yeah, that's when you put him in, is a 7-1 game.
Yes, he's like a mop-up man, and he's coming in and striking out 3 Dodgers in a row, making pitching ninja for how, nasty and how much ride his pitches have. And you're going, this is the guy you put in when the game's already out of hand. And you've got at least 6 guys who you think are better and nastier than this guy in your bullpen right now. Okay, now I can sort of see A.J. Preller's plan from the trade deadline coming together a little bit, because that is a team you do not look forward to facing when you go up against the San Diego Padres. And I want to talk to Eno about that, the bullpen moves, and how much of an impact he thinks it can have on the Padres over these final 2 months of the season.
Yeah, we talked to A.J. Preller yesterday in our 8 o'clock hour, and he pretty much was alluding to, this is what teams with serious playoff hopes do. You bolster your bullpen. It comes down to the bullpen, and those were moves that, yes, they're going to help you in August and September as you push for the playoffs, but they're really the moves were designed for October.
It's what the Phillies did
Yep.
Adding Carlos Estevez. It's what they've done in recent seasons when they've made their runs to the World Series and to the National League Championship Series with both acquisitions and young guys, from Alvarado to Sir Anthony Dominguez, who they've traded, but now they've got Estevez, Orion Kerkering, the young guy they brought up last year that helped him in the pen. Now they've got Strom, who's an all-star that they bolstered. They picked him up from the Red Sox before last season. That's a team that thinks they can win a World Series. And when you think you can win, you really want to get that bullpen charged up as much as possible ahead of a possible postseason run. The great thing for the Phillies, though, they know they're going to the playoffs. So they can plan for their bullpen, and they can start even thinking about, how we're going to use these guys. Rob Thompson can kind of get guys in their lane for what he's going to be doing in October because they're so far ahead, and they're not really being challenged. They haven't even played well. I think I saw yesterday the Phillies have the second worst record since the All-Star break other than the Chicago White Sox. And they're still not in any danger of really losing that division or missing the playoffs. The Padres are in a completely different boat. They also have a team that looks like could be a real threat in October. But they also have a team that might not get to October because of the lack of pitching depth. And we'll talk about it coming up because this series against the Colorado Rockies, they announced the starting pitching probables last night after Mike Shildt had already done his postgame news conference. They came out and said, all right, here's what we've got. And if you missed it, Randy Vasquez is going to pitch tomorrow. Martin Perez is going to make his debut on Saturday. And they threw out the old TBA on Sunday, not Michael King. So that's a problematic spot to be when you're in a tight playoff race and you're three starters for a series that you really kind of have to sweep. I mean, I'll take 2 out of 3, but really anything less than a sweep's a tiny bit disappointing against the last place team. Now, I know they swept the Padres the last time. So you say that and you go, don't get ahead of yourself. Well, this is the time you need to beat up on these teams. And you're pitching Vasquez, who got lit up his last time out, Perez, who's had like 2 good starts all season, and you just acquired him. And then you don't even know, is it a bullpen day? Is it Michael King? What's going on there? That's a chance for you to really stub your toe and miss a great opportunity this weekend if you don't get decent pitching. Now, you still got that bullpen. You can be aggressive maybe, but if you fall behind, 5-1 in the first few innings, it's tough. You can't always come back from those deficits. Right. So we'll talk about that coming up on the show today. And again, Eno Sarris will wrap things up for us coming up at 9:35 this morning with more on the new Padres bullpen and pitching staff. But up next, we will get into last night's game. Another fun one at Petco Park. Another giant crowd to see the Padres do something they have not done in 14 years. And that is clinch a season series win over the Los Angeles Dodgers. All of Jesse's highlights coming up next with Ben and Paul Reindl on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. So there was another sellout crowd last night at Petco Park, and they had the numbers, Paulie. You had the 2-game series, a new record for a Padres 2-game series, 94,556 fans.
94,000?
For 2 games, which broke the previous 2-game record, which was the Mariners 2-game series from last month. That was not as fun of a 2-game series when the Padres got swept by the Mariners. But that was like 82,000. They shattered the 2-game series record. And I was wondering why.
I'm guessing they'll break the records again later on this year. Like when, the context has to be they expanded Gallagher Square. They can sell more
Well, yeah,
tickets.
that's definitely why they've been breaking single-game attendance records. With the new Gallagher Square, they can get more standing room only tickets in there, so they have more people in the ballpark. But I was going, well, what's the difference in a 2-game series? And I think, well, there's never a 2-game series on Saturday and Sunday. It's always either a 3 or a 4 Friday to Sunday or Thursday to Sunday or Friday to Monday. Mm-hmm. But you never, other than really like weird circumstance, a rain out or something, you never have a weekend series. So a 2-game series is inherently always Tuesday, Wednesday, or Wednesday, Thursday, midweek, which tends to be smaller crowds for midweek games, which is why the record was a little bit lower. It was only 82,000 or whatever it was. But you get the Dodgers in town, you get the excitement post-trade deadline for this team playing as well as they have. I mean, it just all came together for what other team in baseball can draw that kind of capacity crowd for 2 midweek games? It's pretty awesome, Padres fans. You are great. My wife went to the game last night with some friends, and she said, really one of the more fun games. I mean, it wasn't as amazing as Tuesdays.
They said yesterday was like 1,000 people less or something. And I'm like, still, this is insane on a Wednesday night.
But because they kind of went ahead early, you didn't have the 8 innings of your like stomach churning like you did on Tuesday. Right. It was just kind of a fun, easy atmosphere. Padres are up. Never were really threatened in the game. No. It was just a nice night for everybody
Dylan
at Petco
sees
Park.
with a 7-run lead.
Yeah.
Give me that all day.
You're doing it to Clayton Kershaw. Let's hear how it happened. Get to our Padres wrap-up with Jesse Agler right after this check of traffic on 97.3 The Fan.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
Crash has been pushed into the center divide on southbound 5 Coastline right before Cassidy Street. Collision on the Claremont Mesa Boulevard on-ramp to northbound 805. And a hit-and-run crash on eastbound 8 right before the 67. Tow truck is on scene, everything over to the right shoulder. I'm Kelly Danick with Ben & Wood, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
I love winning, man. I love winning. You hear what I'm saying? It's like better than losing.
Oh, my God, I'm so stiff.
Miss any of the Padres win yesterday? Ben and Woods didn't.
What up, crew?
We've got you covered with all of the highlights.
I like it when the Padres win.
Yeah! Yeah! It's the Padres Wrap-Up, presented by Hamul Casino. With thrilling slots and tables and all the best rewards, Hamul Casino has all the fun you're looking for. Hamul Casino, fun above all else. Yeah!
Give me a do damage.
Do damage.
Is it extra sweet because this is against the Dodgers?
Runners lead at first and second. 3-2. Merrill runs. Campusano lines it into center field. Base hit. Jackson's going to score easily. Him wheeling around to third base. RBI single Luis Campusano. And a 1-0 Padre lead. Kershaw comes set. He'll deliver. Johnson squares the bunt. Pushes it back towards the mound. Bobbled by Kershaw. And a suicide squeeze going to work. Kim comes in to score. Might have been a safety squeeze. It was some kind of squeeze, but Kershaw coming in had a pretty good opportunity to make a play at the plate. He bobbled it, unable to pick it up, and the Padres lead it 2-0. And the infield end. Pitch here, grounded slowly towards first base. It will roll right to the bag. Biggio touches first for the out, but Campusano comes in to score, and the Padre lead is 3-0. 3-2, golfed into right center field. That's down, and a line drive base hit for Profar. Bryce Johnson comes in to score. 4-0 San Diego in the second. 1-1 to Luntz, hit in the air deep down the right field line. Taking aim for the porch. That's a fair ball. Going to one-hop up against the wall. Ahmed has scored. Ohtani's going to be held. And in his second base, an RBI double. Throw gets away on the infield. Manny flips it home. Ohtani's out. Oh, boy. Little bit of a miscue leads to the final out of the inning. Dave Roberts will wait and see if he wants to challenge this play at the plate. but as the throw kind of got loose on the infield, Ohtani decided to try and score. Manny had the whole thing in front of him, went to get it, flipped it home, and from here it looked like they easily tagged Ohtani out. Here's the 2-1, swung on, hit in the air, deep to left field. Teoscar Hernandez back towards the corner, looking up, gonna go! First balcony Western medal. And Luis Campusano, who had an RBI single in the second, adds a home run here in the fourth. 1-2 pitch, muscled into right field. That's a line drive and a base hit. Johnson rounding third on his way. He's going to score. A rise into third base. RBI single, Jurickson Profar. And a 6-1 Padre lead in the fourth inning. Just kind of a half-swing fly ball into center field. That should be deep enough. Catch made by Pages. Arise is tagging on his way. He will score. Sacrifice flies, Xander Bogaerts. Padre lead is 7-1 here in the fourth inning. 1-2 again. And Merrill swings, hits it in the air to deep right. Hayward is back. This one is off the top of the wall. Might have hit a fan. They're going to say it's in play. Bogaerts comes in to score. Merrill ends up at second, and now we wait and see. 1-0 pitch. Fiducia swings, hits it in the air to right center field. Merrill is on his way. He will get there to make the catch, and the ball game is over. The Padres sweep the Dodgers with an 8-1 win here tonight. They are 7-3 against LA, and they have won the season series from the Dodgers for the first time since 2010.
These guys played well at both games. Dylan was good. Good life to his fastball. Slaughter was good. Was able to execute when he needed to. Did a nice job of getting into the sixth for us. Another quality job by Dylan.
Padres now a season-high 8 games above 500 after they sweep the Dodgers with an 8-1 win yesterday, and did it against Clayton Kershaw, who is he's mostly owned the Padres in his career, as he has done most teams, because he's going to be a future Hall of Famer. But he's not Clayton Kershaw anymore, making his second start of the season. I thought maybe after the first inning I'd go, oh, okay, he's hitting some corners. Maybe he's got a little gas left in the tank. But when Clayton Kershaw is not getting swing and miss, and his slider not as sharp, still has decent curveball and some decent control, but he's just not as devastating as he was. And the Padres were able to make consistent contact, put together that nice rally there in the second inning to score 4 runs, and ultimately they knocked Clayton Kershaw out in the fourth inning. 3 2/3, 6 hits, 7 runs. Just 3 of them earned, mostly because of his own error on the bunt by Bryce Johnson there in the second inning. But it ended up being his first career start, and he's made 424 of them in his career. His first career start without at least 1 strikeout, which is got to be concerning for the Dodgers, that Clayton Kershaw is not going to be the answer. They've got Tyler Glass now. He's remarkably stayed healthy, and I'll give him credit. They've managed him. They shut him down for a little while with a injury to try to save some innings, maybe smartly to do so, but you've got to still be worried based on his history. Is he going to be available for the
old is Kershaw?
End of the year in the playoffs?
36.
Kershaw is, 36? Yeah.
Yeah, he looked old yesterday.
Yeah, he did.
He looked old, and I've always respected Clayton Kershaw, the pitcher. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer, pretty much for certain, I would say. But he's just at the end, and he could not get anything going yesterday against this Padres lineup. Whereas Dylan Cease, 3 hits all night long for the Dodgers. But I was watching the game. It was like the second inning. Kershaw was soaked in sweat. I could see his entire back was like sweating through that paper thin new uniform that they all have to wear. And I'm like, he doesn't look great. He looks old.
It's and it wasn't the big boppers that were necessarily doing it. The Padres got 2 hits from Campusano, including the home run. They got 2 hits from Bryce Johnson. By the way, his first career 2-hit game ever. Good for Bryce Johnson. Also had the bunt that he got on as well.
Blesses everybody, even Bryce Johnson.
When the Padres are at their best, they're getting production up and down the lineup, and it was a very balanced attack yesterday, leading to the 8 runs. Obviously Dylan Cease had another. We're so spoiled after the last 3 starts that 5 2/3, 3 hits and 1 run and 6 strikeouts feels like ho-hum, whatever. I mean, 2 of the hits were infield singles out of the 3. And then the other hit, which was the Lux double into the corner, actually was a pretty pivotal play in the game. Remember, you heard it, Jesse call it, after the Padres had scored 4 in the bottom of the second inning. Dodgers had their one rally. They had 2 guys on. Lux hits the double, scores 1. Ohtani rounds third, and the throw from Bryce Johnson gets away. And Manny Machado does what Derek Jeter did against the Oakland A's?
Yeah.
Way back in the playoffs in 2000, I think it was, where he kind of intercepts the throw in the infield and makes the little flip home to get Shohei Ohtani. And while Jeter's obviously came at a huge moment in the postseason and was almost acrobatic because he was like there out of nowhere, in some ways I thought Manny's was even more impressive because he had to sprint. He had to sprint to follow it and like chase Ohtani down to grab it and then get the throw just ahead of Shohei Ohtani. Just another example of why Manny Machado is such a great baseball player, such great instinct, such great understanding.
Yeah, they're both great players.
Yeah.
I don't think they need to be compared.
No.
I mean, Jeter ran from third base to the first base line.
Yeah.
And it was one of the most incredible plays I've ever seen back in 2000.
Both were
whenever
terrific.
that was. But no, I mean, it was the first play I thought of when I was watching the game yesterday and saw Manny. I'm like, oh, little Derek Jeter action there. But just the heads up and the awareness by Manny Machado there at third base, that's something that I feel like we still take for granted how good of a third baseman Manny Machado is. It blows my mind every single day that he is anchoring that position for us, for this franchise. He's so good at third.
He had quite the 2 games the last couple of days
locked in, man.
with the 2 home runs, with the great catches in the first game, with that play last night, and then that pretty much gave Dylan Cease the only help he needed. He did lose his hitless streak at 15 innings. I didn't realize he had gotten up to 15 straight innings without allowing a hit before the infield single by Hayward. Xander almost could have made that play, but that it was going to end at some point. It did. 24 straight scoreless inning streak came to an end with that run in the third, but ultimately, 5 2/3, and the Dodgers are still going to work some counts, and they drove the pitch count up a little bit. You knew Mike Shilt's got plenty of bullpen now. No reason to make. I think he went over 100 pitches. No reason to push Dylan Cease after he went with a no-hitter his last time out. You want to save some of those bullets for later in the season. So I was fine with Shildt taking him out there in the 6th. And then the bullpen was terrific as well. The new look Padres bullpen started with Morejon just getting the 1 out, and then we saw Alec Jacob striking out the side. Saw the debut of Jason Adam, got a couple of fly balls, took only 6 pitches to get through his inning, and the debut of Brian Hoeing, who needed only 8 pitches to get through the 9th inning in his Padres debut. We still haven't seen Tanner Scott, who was available and will probably make his debut, I would assume, on Friday when the Colorado Rockies come to town. But that new look bullpen is certainly a weapon that Mike Shildt has now at his disposal going toward the rest of the season. And if last night was a preview, liked what I saw last night from the Padres pen.
And, we talked about what a 2-game series for Manny Machado. We haven't even mentioned his name yet, but how about the rookie?
Hi, this is Jackson Merrill.
I mean, amazing game on Tuesday night. The guy was almost had a home run again yesterday. Not fazed whatsoever by this Dodgers team, Dodgers pitching, the moments, whatever. He has been so impressive lately. He had like that insane month of June, and we mentioned we didn't say we were concerned, but the power numbers obviously were going to dip down from an insane month like that. But he has been so locked in both defensively and at the plate, and he's just an absolute thrill to watch every single night at 21 years old.
Like Tatis, he's been a Dodger killer here in his first season.
I love it.
He's come up. I think his weighted runs created against the Dodgers is like 170 something. His average is like 380 or 390 against the Dodgers so far in his rookie season. 2 for 4 yesterday, and as you said, nearly had that home run in the 7th inning. Nice try by the fans out there on the in that what is the
right field?
Used to be the Whiskey Deck. Now it's the Chrome Tour, right? It's the Callaway Chrome
Templeton
Tour
Ride deck.
Yeah,
or
now
something.
it's the Callaway Chrome Tour deck out there, I think. But They were trying to signal, oh, yeah, home run. It got over. So it touched someone. Didn't. It did go up right against the corner of the wall. I mean, could have bounced either way, gone over. It came back. It wasn't a home run. The umpires did make the right call. But everyone there, once they started kind of, doing their fingers in the home run motion, I go, oh, they must have seen it go over. It must have hit a fan or something beyond the wall and came back onto the field. No, it didn't. No one touched it. That was just a double off the top of the wall. But hey, you gotta try when you're the fans out there. Sell it for try to make the call difficult for the umpires. Still, Jackson Merrill with the home run on Tuesday and a near home run. That power stroke is still in there. It pops up when you least expect it, but continuing to hit 286, 452 slugging, and remains squarely in the conversation for National League Rookie of the Year. We'll probably have that conversation at the end of the season after all the numbers are in and we see what Paul Skeens ends up doing, whether they stay in the pennant race and he pitches all the way through or they end up shutting him down will probably be pretty important. He's kind of got the hype advantage over Jackson Merrill, but I will always give the edge to a position player.
The guy that plays every
who's
single
playing
day.
every single day at a high level, no matter what Paul Skeens is doing that's historic. He can only do it every fifth or sixth day for the Pittsburgh Pirates. So
yeah, we're going to go up against the hype train of Paul Skeens that everybody across the country is all aboard, but Jackson Merrill's the Rookie of the Year. No other rookie has made an impact like he has on a daily basis.
I don't know that he'll win it. I do know that...
And I don't think he cares. He says he doesn't care, and I believe him.
I do know that... Well, I don't know this, but I would imagine that if the Padres offered Jackson Merrill to the Pirates for Paul Skeens straight up, Pirates would do that in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
I think they would.
He could be your center fielder for the next 10 years.
That's why I think Jackson Merrill's the Rookie of the Year. We'll come back. We got some Real or Fake next here on The Fan. Already seen a little pushback on my comment that I made, just kind of off the cuff in our last segment, that if a trade was proposed straight up, Jackson Merrill for Paul Skeens, I think the Pirates would do it, and I think the Padres would not. But that's because I think a position player is just more valuable. Also, Jackson Merrill is younger than Paul Skeens. He's a year younger, and you don't have as much of an injury risk with a position player as a pitcher. We've seen dominant pitchers, young like Mark Pryor and Kerry Wood with electric arms,
Right.
but is he really going to be able to do it every 5 days for the next 10 years? Are you ready to commit to a 10-year contract for Paul Skeens right now?
Because I'm about ready to commit to that for Jackson
Exactly.
Merrill.
Exactly. And I'm not trying to take anything away. Paul Skeens has been amazing. I mean, it might be the best pitcher in baseball already.
It doesn't always have to be a competition.
And it doesn't have to be a competition, but it also got me looking ahead at the schedule, and Jeff on our chat kind of pointed out, because I had been under the impression that Skeens was going to start the series opener against the Padres coming up on Tuesday. But the Pirates have announced their upcoming rotation, and they have announced that Paul Skeens will actually start this Sunday against the Arizona Diamondbacks at PNC Park, which means he will miss the series against the San Diego Padres on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Now, you can think whatever you want about that. You can be disappointed that you're not going to see a head-to-head matchup between the Padres and Paul Skeens. For a team that's trying to chase a playoff spot, I'll tell you this. You'd rather miss Paul Skeens than get Paul Skeens. But if you follow that out, that would mean that Skeens would then likely throw on Saturday against the Dodgers. They have an off day on Monday, 3 against the Padres. And if they keep their rotation order, he'd throw Saturday against the Dodgers, and then the Padres would miss him again when they come to Petco Park the following week, because he wouldn't be able to pitch until after that series. So there is now
6 games in 8 days against the same team.
Yep,
and you missed their ace both
and there's a
times.
good chance the Padres will now not face Paul Skeens in either of those 2 series coming up. Maybe a fortuitous break from the baseball gods, or maybe not. I have no idea how it's going to play out, but I do know that the Diamondbacks, who are red hot and right on the heels of the San Diego Padres, and won again last night, they are going to have to face Paul Skeens on Sunday. And the Dodgers, who are now just 4.5 games ahead of the Padres, they will likely have to face Paul Skeens the following weekend. And the Padres could very well miss Paul Skeens in all 6 games that they have in their season series against the Pittsburgh Pirates, which will all be played within the next 2 weeks, both at Pittsburgh and here in San Diego. So maybe the gods smiling down on the Padres. We'll see how it actually plays out on the field. But this wild card race remains really tight. 4 of the 6 top teams last night won again, including the Diamondbacks, who beat the Washington Nationals 5-4. They held on despite 2 more runs allowed in a save situation by Paul Sewald. And he has not been pitching well. In fact, the thinking is that he may have lost his closer's job with the Arizona Diamondbacks. They may go with their new A.J. Puck acquisition, who's closed before. He came in the 6th inning yesterday, but Sewald hadn't been getting the job done lately. Didn't cost him the game, though, as they went on and swept the Washington Nationals, or won again against the Washington Nationals last night. Cardinals are hot. The Tommy Pham acquisition is paying immediate dividends after his grand slam in his debut on Tuesday. He went 3 for 4 with a 2-run double as they crushed the Rangers 10-1. So the Cardinals still right behind the San Diego Padres. The Braves won. They beat the Brewers 6-2. Craig mentioned it on the roundtable yesterday when I said the Braves could be the team that slips. He said, well, watch out. Matt Olson is heating up. He hasn't had a really good season, but he had 51 homers last year. And if he gets hot, he can put the Braves on his back. Well, he had 2 more home runs yesterday, so he is heating up. That could be big for the Braves. They're a half game up on the Padres in the wild card race. The Mets did lose. The Twins did avoid a sweep with an 8-3 win, helped everybody out, and temporarily at least knocking the Mets out of the wild card position and moving the Diamondbacks into that 3rd position in the wild card race. And then the Pirates lost yesterday to the Astros 5-4 as the Astros avoided the sweep, erasing a 4-0 deficit. So Padres currently in that 2nd wild card spot. just a half a game behind the Braves for the first wild card spot. So it's really, really tight right now. However,
you really are on like full scoreboard watch already, aren't you?
Yeah, but even like Don Orsillo was saying last night during the broadcast,
caught that.
He's watching the scoreboard now, and Mud said, "Why not? This is kind of fun. At this point, we know who you're cheering for and who you're cheering against. It's pretty obvious." Who the top contenders are for the National League playoff spot. So, yeah, Braves up a half game on the Padres, or up a half game on the Diamondbacks. Those are your top three. Then the Mets a half game back. The Cardinals a game and a half back of the Diamondbacks. And the Pirates 2.5 games back of the Diamondbacks. And then the Giants are kind of on the fringe and at 4.5, and the Reds at 5.5 out in the playoff race right now. Not that they're out of it, but they'd have to get exceptionally hot to make a run right now. But those are your 6 teams. Keep the scoreboard watching going probably for the next couple of months, which is not great for the stress levels when you're constantly doing it. But I've kind of jumped in, and now it's hard to stop doing it now that I've started my nightly scoreboard watching to see who I'm cheering for and against every night.
15 games coming up in the next couple of weeks. 3 against the Rockies at home. 3 on the road in Pittsburgh. 3 on the road in Miami. Back home for 3 against the Pirates, and then on the road for 3 against the Rockies. Now, anything goes at Coors Field, but man, there are a lot of winnable ball games in those next 15.
Every time
you have to take advantage of that.
Every time we think that, Paulie, that's when the ground seems to give way beneath the Padres'
The magnetic pull back to 500.
Yeah,
I think this team has played over the last couple of weeks better than they have played in a couple of years.
You're right. I mean, 15 games, and you got 3 series against last place teams.
Like anything less than 10-5 would be, I would say, a slight disappointment.
And then the Pirates, they're not a bad team. They're 2 games above 500. They're still chasing a playoff spot, but you're a better team. And if the math holds, you're missing their stud rookie star pitcher in both of those series. I mean, yes, this is a chance for the Padres, 10-5, at least get up to 13 games, 14 games above 500 somewhere. This is a chance to make some hay, maybe even gain some ground on the Dodgers. And by the way, that's a race as well. Before I get into that, we need a contestant for real or fake. Going to play our game here in about 2 minutes. So if you want to get online, give us a call right now, 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. We talked about it yesterday, a little bit on the roundtable as well. The Padres, with the 2-game sweep of the Dodgers, have officially brought the National League West into play.
100%.
They are 4.5 games back, and they now have the tiebreaker if it ends up with the same record as the Dodgers at the end of the season. They were on a tightrope. Really, if they had lost either of those 2 and were 6.5 back, or they got swept and they were 8.5, I'd say, all right, you're focusing on the wild card now. But at 4.5, the NL West is still in play. And by the way, if the NL West is still in play, then a first-round bye in the playoffs is also still in play, because the Milwaukee Brewers, who lead the Central, are even closer to the Padres than the Dodgers are. So if you can chase down the Dodgers, you can certainly chase down the Brewers. And right now, I mean, shooting for the moon.
Just think about how I was talking about how critical these next 2 weeks are, 3 weeks, whatever. The 15-game stretch where you're playing the Rockies, the Marlins, and the Pirates.
You gotta shave a couple of games off.
I'm looking at the Dodgers in that same stretch. They got to play. They go up to Oakland.
Yeah,
that shouldn't be a problem for them. But then they got the Phillies. They got the Pirates with Paul Skeens, as we just talked about, and then they got 4 games against the Brewers.
Okay.
So they have a much tougher next 15
These
games.
next 2+ weeks for the San Diego Padres are critical when it comes to the NL West race. Well, both the NL West and the wild card.
It's not going to determine the season, of course, but it will determine whether or not you really have a shot at making a run for the division, or...
Let's just say this. If you keep playing the way you've been playing, the Padres, and they continue to roll against that kind of schedule, and the Dodgers play the way they've been playing, which hasn't been great, bullpen hasn't been good, their lineup is missing a bunch of stars, and they're playing that kind of schedule, there's certainly the possibility that the Padres could even catch the Dodgers in the next 2 weeks. We could be talking in mid-August about a neck-and-neck race in the National League West.
Bring it on, baby. Bring it on.
But again, This is the Padres we're talking about. And just when you think you've got them figured out, something unexpected happens. So we're just throwing it into the universe.
That was before.
The Rally Roach.
Pre-Rally
Roach.
Pre-Rally Roach.
It's an exciting time to be a Padres fan.
Sure is, man. I was talking last night with Megan. She just goes, this team just feels so much more fun. And I go, yeah, 100%. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's Profar and just the vibes, Jackson Merrill injecting some fun energy, that young rookie energy, but this team has no quit. They just are so much fun. We've had so many more fun moments with 7 walkouts along with everything else, like a no-hitter and everything else going on surrounding this team. It has been so much fun to watch, and I can't wait for these last 2 months of the regular season.
All right, we got Adam Jones coming up at the bottom of the hour. Don't do this as ahead, but right now, let's play our Throwback Thursday game. It's time for a little Real or Fake.
Some are here for the compelling sports talk with Ben and Woods. You can go plow through another donut. It's time for Real or Fake on 97.3 The Fan. Tell the people what they'll win today.
All right, here's what we're playing for, and let's go with, I see Ollie, you there? Check, 1, 2.
Hello.
Can anyone hear my voice? Next, let's go try Bill. Bill, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Ah, congratulations, Bill. He was prepared.
Ollie's loss is your gain.
All right, Bill, you're our contestant today. If you can get 4 of our 7 right in Real or Fake, you will qualify for our grand prize drawing, which is coming up in just a couple of days. 2-night stay at the Rio Las Vegas. Dinner for 2 at Daybed at the Rio Pool. The Rio is back. New ownership, newly remodeled rooms, 4 new pools, a brand new food hall. You can book now at RioLasVegas.com. All right, I hope you know a little bit about some American history today for Real or Fake.
Oh, gosh.
With vice presidential nominees in the news this week, I thought I'd test your knowledge of history. Today on Real or Fake, I'll give you a name. You tell me if they were a real vice president of the United States of America or if it's a fake. In this case, it's the actual name of one of the Marvel Avengers. So not their nickname, but like their human name. Vice president or Avenger.
Well, Bill, unfortunately, usually we'll get some help with Woodsy.
You weren't going to get much help.
I can't help you because I have to
know
know the answers.
So, yeah, you're on your own today, Bill.
Woodsy wouldn't have helped you at all anyways.
All right, so round 1, remember, real is a vice president, fake is an Avenger. Round 1.
Okay.
James Rhodes, real or fake vice president? Bill?
Let's go real.
Real. No, that's Rhodey. That's Iron Man's friend, War Machine, is James Rhodes. Sorry, that's okay.
Obviously.
0 for 1. Round 2. Charles Curtis, real or fake vice president? Charles Curtis.
Let's go real.
Real. Yes, Herbert Hoover's vice president back in the 1920s during the Depression. All right, 1 for you as we go to round number 3. Garrett Hobart, real or fake vice president of the United States? Bill?
I'm going to go real.
Real. Yeah, that was one of William McKinley's vice presidents. I think he may have died in office. Sorry, Garrett. Rest in peace. All right, that's 2.
Shout out to his family.
Doing pretty well. All right, let's go to round number 4. William Wheeler. William Wheeler, Bill. Real or fake vice president?
Let's go fake.
Fake. Yeah, it does sound kind of marvelous, doesn't it? No, that was Rutherford B. Hayes's vice president back in the 1800s. That's all right. You're still alive. We've got 2 correct. We got 3 left, so you need to get 2 of the last 3. Let's go with Hannibal Hamlin. Hannibal Hamlin, real or fake vice president? Bill?
I heard that name. Gosh darn it. I'm going to go real.
You're going to go real. You know why? You've heard it? He was Abraham Lincoln's vice president. So very good.
Okay.
That means you are just one correct answer away from qualifying. All right, here we go. James Barnes. James Barnes, Bill.
Fake.
Fake, yeah. That is James Buchanan Barnes, Bucky, Captain America's best friend, and you are a winner today. The last one was going to be Samuel Wilson. which is also fake. That is Falcon and the new Captain America. So congratulations, Bill. You have conquered real or fake,
Good boy,
and you have
Bill.
qualified for our grand prize drawing. Stay on the line, stay on hold. Paulie will get to you in a couple of minutes during our break to get all your information to make sure you get into our drawing. So well done. All right, we've got Don't Do This coming up before Adam Jones joins us. Had an incident a couple of days ago with a radio host who was broadcasting live from Tennessee Titans training camp. And this is
wild.
This is the kind of thing that gives me kind of like the stress nightmares about being like a radio host on remote. If something like this ever happened to us at Padres spring training, we will play the audio for you and give you the fallout of what happened. Coming up next on Don't Do This, after a check of traffic with Kelly Danick. Don't go away. More Bennett Woods on the way on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Don't Do This is brought to you by the Craft Taco in Sorrento Valley. Craft Taco is some of the best quality tacos in all of San Diego. Go to thecrafttaco.com and take a look at their happy hour specials today, thecrafttaco.com. And this first story is something that I think you're always, as a radio host, and if you're on remote and you're broadcasting at a team facility, as we do every year at spring training, fantasy camp's a little more relaxed, but, well, actually, this actually happened to me during fantasy camp.
You're a nerd, too.
That was fantasy camp, bud.
With full expletives.
In fact, it's more likely that this will happen at
That's a good
fantasy
point.
camp with a bunch of morons running
All
around
right,
out
so
there like us.
Buck Reesing of the Buck Reesing Show in Tennessee had his own Goose Gossage moment, but it involved Titans star Jeffrey Simmons.
This is outstanding.
Who had taken umbrage, I guess. I don't know why he's watching, but Reesing is kind of tweeting out, some things critical, a little bit of what he's watching on the field of Jeffrey Simmons, and saying, hey, he's going to step up. And apparently the word gets back to Jeffrey Simmons, who is not happy about what this radio host is tweeting about him. So Reesing is doing his live show, and he's about to sit down with another guest from the Tennessee Titans. But then Simmons comes up, and while he's live on the air, he starts airing his grievances, including calling the radio host live on the air P-word. Paulie's edited it a little bit so we can play it on the radio, and you can kind of hear he's not on the microphone. He's just kind of
sitting
at the table.
Fold up table under a tent doing a radio show, and they're welcoming a player on. Like, hey, Manny Machado joins us next, and then imagine like Jake Cronenworth walks by and starts screaming at us.
Yeah, and this is
what's going on, Jeff? Well, Jeff, you want to sit down? We can talk whenever you want to talk. Jeff, we'll deal with that later. Roger McCreary sitting down with us here on 104.5 The Zone. Jeff, we're on the air right now. I'm right here, Jeff. We can talk anytime you want to. Oh. Unbelievable.
We got to make that happen.
Well, we'll deal with that later on. Roger McCreary sitting down with us here on 104.5 The Zone. Jeff, if you want to sit down and talk about this, we can talk about this.
I'm telling you, stop talking on social media. Talk to me.
I'm talking to you right here. Jeff, we tried to talk to you last week. I'm being rude to Roger. We'll deal with you later. Roger, what's going on?
We caught one. Paulie edited it. We had to dump another one. I guess he hit it twice in his rant. But, yeah, stop talking about me on social media. You got a big NFL guy in your face. I thought the host, Buck, handled it fairly well. Trying to, hey, let's talk about it. And apparently they did afterwards. They got together, and Jeffrey Simmons actually yesterday issued an apology, said he's sorry that, did it. He now understands where you're coming from. You're doing a job. Said that's not who I am. Felt bad about the language that he used. He doesn't want to be seen that way. And they talked it out, and I guess everything is okay now. But stressful moment if you're live and hosting a radio show like that.
Oh God, that was like tensing up just hearing it and thinking, man. Somebody in the chat here on YouTube says that could have been Profar when he blocked you guys, but luckily we made amends.
I get it. If I was a professional athlete and someone who doesn't play the game is spouting criticisms, even if they may be well-founded and even accurate, it's never going to feel good.
Sure.
So I do understand
they're just doing their job.
But at the same time, they are doing what they are supposed to be doing. They are authorized to be there. If they weren't doing that, they really wouldn't be doing their job.
Right. You can't have that sensitive of rabbit ears.
Yeah.
You got to just let it go.
You do have to do that. Oh, go ahead, Paulie.
All right. Talk a little Olympics here. Somebody's getting roasted for their social media post. Katie Ledecky. She is one of, if not the greatest Olympian for the United States right now. She is just spectacular for Team USA, and she graduated from Stanford back in 2021.
Correct.
The Pac-12. She dominated there.
She won Olympics before she got to Stanford. She won Olympics at Stanford, and now she's winning Olympics after Stanford.
Right. And, of course, she deserves all of the recognition and all of the accolades. And the ACC posted something yesterday. They posted a picture of Katie Ledecky in the pool. It says Olympic record. Katie Ledecky, women's swimming, 1,500-meter freestyle. Congratulations, her. And they wrote, Olympic record with the siren emoji. Ledecky bringing home the gold medal emoji. And then they wrote hashtag accomplish greatness, hashtag Olympians made here. Because, well, Stanford is now in the ACC.
Now they are.
They weren't when she was there. They haven't been before.
I'm sure they have
are
made.
now.
I'm sure they've made some Olympians in the ACC. They did not make Katie Ledecky. Not even a little tiny bit. Did the ACC make
like
Katie
stolen
Ledecky?
valor there.
That's what everyone's calling it. Yeah, there's a little stolen valor. You can't take credit for something you had absolutely nothing to do with just because after the fact you're now associated with that school. It doesn't work that way. The Atlanta Braves used to be in the NL West. When they won the World Series a couple of years, it's not a world. Congratulations, the NL West champion Atlanta Braves have won the World Series. No, they're in the NL East now. It doesn't work that way. You can't take credit after the fact for a school that wasn't in your conference back then.
That's so funny.
It's sad enough that the Pac-12 is pretty much gone to the Pac-2. Don't start taking all their historical records as well.
Somebody said, what are you doing? The Pac-12 didn't die for this. That's funny.
All right, finally a little do this.
DD mega doo-doo.
I love when celebrities and athletes are just cool, especially with young fans. Like, are willing to engage, willing to give them a few minutes and talk to them. Probably better than I am at it, actually. But this story involves a famous U.S. soccer player, Christian Pulisic, who was at Yankee Stadium this week, and he was with a couple of other kind of big-name soccer players, and this little young fan who's wearing, I think, what is that, a Manchester United jersey, comes up to them. They're like in a lounge area, and he is just starstruck. Christian Pulisic is there. Please, can I get a picture? I would love to get a picture with Christian Pulisic. He was terrific. He said, absolutely. So the kid says, I need someone to take the picture, and asks the lady who's standing next to them, would you take our picture? I just would love the picture. The lady he asked is Rihanna to take the picture. And Rihanna could not have been nicer about it. She just absolutely. And she takes a bunch of pictures of the kid and Christian Pulisic and a couple of other soccer players. Kid seems totally unaware of who he just asked to take the picture.
The billionaire, iconic, superstar Rihanna, my beloved Rihanna. Yeah, wow. That is.
Look at her. I mean, we've got the video on our feed.
She's awesome.
Yeah,
I'm watching the video. She's taking all the photos.
Now everyone's getting in the picture. All the kids are getting in the picture.
Get everybody in there. She's doing a great job. But this.
The kid just has no idea. That's
on the parents. We got to do a better job of raising these kids.
I could see young Ben making the same mistake. Like, ooh, I want to take a picture with Gary Templeton. Here, Michael Jackson, can you take the picture for me? Thank you. Because I am enamored with sports stars and don't know enough pop culture.
Has
of what's
no
going
idea who she is. That's unbelievable.
I hope someone said you might actually want to take a picture with the person who's taking the picture as well. Even if you don't want it now.
Christian Pulisic, would you mind taking a photo of us?
5 years, when you're like 15 or 16, you're actually going to want this other picture more than the picture of you and me, says Christian Pulisic. So.
Yes. Oh, God, that's funny.
I mean, I'd be showing everyone the picture and go, you know who took this picture? Rihanna took this picture. No, she's not in it. Well,
why didn't you get a picture with her?
No, she's just taking the picture.
Was she mean? No, she was cool as hell. She would have. Yeah. Oh God, that's funny.
And that's why I mean, it's a cool moment, and that's why
that's absolutely something you would have done.
Do this, yeah. It is something I would do that on a Thursday.
That was Don't Do This with Ben and Woods on 97.3 The Fan.
Dominic said, I took a picture with Gary Templeton when I was a kid. My dad took the picture.
Sydney Sweeney, can you take this picture of Ben and Steve Garvey? Come on.
All right, it's a big league Thursday. Adam Jones, it was his birthday yesterday. Gave him the day off. He continues to travel the country, making his way toward the West Coast. We're going to get to see AJ in a couple of weeks, I believe. But he is going to join us. His thoughts on the trade deadline, the Padres, and much more. That is coming up next. Then Ted Leitner in studio at the top of the hour. All ahead with Ben and Woods on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. This hour on 97.3 The Fan is brought to you by Express Employment Professionals. If your supply chain demands a flexible workforce, hire with Express Employment Professionals. With contract and full-time workers from Express Employment, you get the staff you need and manage contingent labor costs. Learn more at expresspros.com. That's expresspros.com. Quick update, the Olympic golf tournament is underway this morning in Paris. First round is wrapping up right about now. And currently, in a tie for second place, none other than recent Ben & Woods guest and two-time major champion and defending gold medal winner Xander Schauffele. 6 under par, 1 hole left to play. He is 2 shots behind Hideki Matsuyama of Japan, who shot an 8 under in the first round. Carlos Ortiz of Mexico is also 6 under. And then you've got Joaquin Niemann is at 5 from Chile. Emiliano Grillo from Argentina at 5, Tom Kim at 5, and then Scotty Scheffler's part of a group at 4 under. So there's your quick golf update from the Olympics in Paris today. All right, Adam Jones is standing by. We will get to the 5-time All-Star right after a check of traffic here on 97.3 The Fan.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
Got an accident involving a motorcycle northbound side of the 5 before the 54. 2 left lanes are blocked. Cordell and Cordell traffic cam shows this collision in the North County. Southbound 15 past Camino del Norte. Those vehicles are in the center divide. I'm Kelly Danick with Ben & Woods, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
All right, Paulie says, actually, Adam Jones is not standing by. I saw
everybody.
you dialing it up. I figured, he was going to answer because you told me like 5 minutes ago. Oh, yeah, he's confirmed. He's all ready to go. Wonder what he did for his birthday.
I know he was golfing yesterday.
Well, that's, once you get addicted, and he has become addicted to the game in just the last, 3 or 4 years, that, since he kind of finished his baseball career. I didn't get the sense that he golfed much until recently.
He learned the game.
But now he's got the bug, He broke, didn't he break? He broke 90 for the first time, and then I think he broke 80 for the first time. He's getting better. I think
he broke 90.
He said one course. Well, he's calling in now, so we'll get an update on what he did for his birthday and his golf game. Yeah, well, we got to play his intro music. So go ahead and fire that up for Adam Jones. All right, putting you right on the air. Happy belated birthday to you, AJ. What'd you do for your birthday yesterday?
Well, today is my actual birthday.
Oh, it is. Well, then happy birthday today. I thought it was yesterday.
Thank you. No, it's today. So I'm multitasking. I'm sitting in a board meeting right now as I talk to you guys. Hey, you already know. But yesterday I spent my last day in my 38 year. I played BCC out here in Baltimore. I shot an 86 from the twos, which was 6,600 yards, and I'm extremely happy. The short game was working, and it's a good way to go into 39.
I said you got the bug now, and now it's hard to give it up once you've got the golf bug. So technically, you are starting your 40th year on this planet today. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Happy birthday,
Thank you.
brother.
What a blessing. Thank you. I appreciate you guys.
All right, let's talk about what happened at the trade deadline. Obviously, there were a lot of moves, maybe more quantity than quality, but the Padres were busy adding to their bullpen. Just give us some of your thoughts on what went down in the last couple of days in Major League Baseball.
Well, I mean, I think the bigger names didn't go. Obviously, the Scooble, Snell were the top 2 names.
Crochet.
They didn't get Crochet. Yeah, didn't get moved. And you know what? I had John Morosi on my podcast, which released today, and he made a good point. He said, "Look, if these teams aren't going to win in 2.5 years, what's the point of keeping them? Like, is Detroit this offseason going to sign Alex Bregman or sign something big to where, okay, we got a lot of young talent, we got some young pitching. Are they going to do that this offseason? I don't think so. Why not get rid of him? Not get rid of him, obviously trade him and get some really good young players that can fill the holes you need. I think last year we talked about it, Ohtani. The Angels blew that. We all know that. Come on. You could have rebuilt your whole organization with that one trade. And they just decided to just let's just keep it for 2 months. And then August 6th, he's hurt for the rest of the year. So that was a big miss thing too. And it's just about what's your real goals with it. I like the Orioles moves. Obviously, they need pitching. They need pitching for next year because they have 3 guys that are in possibly 4 with Corbin Burns. He's a looming free agent. So they got starting pitching for next year with Eflin's under contract, and Rogers is 2 years under contract. So they might not be the biggest things, and everybody wanted the Orioles to get Scooble, obviously. But I think with Rodgers in a new place, his record doesn't look good in Miami, but Miami is not a good team. With playing in Baltimore, I think he might like it a little bit more, pitching in to righties and letting them hit it as far as they could, 300-400 feet to left field, as you just got to see out here in Baltimore. So I think the moves are good. They're not big blockbuster, but I think they fit the needs of what the Orioles needed.
Speaking of the Orioles, obviously it was a fun series, Padres and Orioles, since we last chatted. Profar had his big 2-home run game, and then Manny got one in his return to Camden Yards, and of course the Orioles won that series finale. Just what are some of your observations from that series? I don't know, did you go to, what games were you there for?
Yeah, I was there for the Friday and Sunday. So I congratulated my guy Machado on his 1,000th RBI. That's great.
Yep.
I mean, he's had his first one there, and to have his 1,000th there, I think that's a hell of an accomplishment in the game of baseball. But no, it was good. I mean, obviously the Orioles, they're playing well. They're fighting for playoffs. The Padres obviously fighting for playoffs. I think it's really good. It was a double-edged sword. People are like, who are you really rooting for? I'm like, the Padres need the wins a little more. You know what I mean? Just a little more than the Orioles needed them. But again, it was a good series. I'm glad, I was able to cheer both sides of it. But again, the Padres look good. Cease has looked really good. The offense has looked good. The most important thing, obviously, we know going down the stretch, there's no more moves to be made. So you're going to have to really, again, be dynamic, play the game to win. And it's not about numbers anymore. You got 60 games to go. We always talk about that. This is the point where you want to be, fighting for a playoff spot on August 1st. And it's time to play unselfish baseball. The numbers are going to be what they are. And it's about going after wins now.
Adam Jones is with us here. Woodsy's in Hawaii. He's doing his best Adam Jones impression this week on his vacation to Kauai, but he'll be back next Wednesday for you, AJ. I wanted to ask you, so last night Padres, they took apart Clayton Kershaw pretty good. And, it's just his second start. I'm not saying that it's time to hang it up. However, didn't look like the Kershaw of the past. Didn't get a strikeout. First time in 424 career starts that he didn't get one. We talked to you as you were wrapping up your career and you went over to Japan. What is that like at the end when you're not the same player that you used to be? You're not five-time All-Star Adam Jones, but you still feel like you got something to contribute. What's that calculation like when you're trying to decide when it is time to end it, or maybe I can squeeze another year or two out of this?
I mean, I had two instances that exactly told me I was done, and it was in Japan. So the first one was I was in right field. A ball was hit down the right field line, and as I'm getting the ball, I'm just like, all right, it's a double. Just throw it to the cutoff man. As I'm getting up and throwing, the guy's damn near sliding into third base. And so I go inside. I look on video. I'm moving like a slug. Okay, I'm like, I've never allowed a triple in a ball that didn't hit the wall and kicked away. And then the next one was I hit a ball into left center field, line drive. As it's double, never been through. I've been thrown out one time by Alex Gordon at second base, okay? And that was a bullet to left, and he got it, and he was great. This was to left center field. I coast on these. As I'm running, I look up, the ball is already on its way, about to beat me there. I just slid into the out. As I'm running off the field, I just said, this is it. My wife called me and said, yeah, your son said, he cussed a little bit. He said, "Oh my damn!" when I got thrown out. He was like 6 years old. He said that to my wife as they're watching the game in his pajamas. So I knew it, but I just had it. It was a humbling moment, and for me, nobody got to see it. For Kershaw, people are getting to see it. People are seeing, obviously the injuries and the not being the greatest of what he was. And you know what? That's part of it. And the best thing about him is he's reinvented himself like CeCe has. He throws more breaking balls, more cutters. He's still effective. Is he going to go and give you 150 innings? No. But can he be effective, and can he be a mental tool for your organization? Can he come out and give you, a few good starts in the playoffs? Does he have those experiences? So I think more with Kershaw than mine was, obviously they're physical, but Kershaw's going to the Hall of Fame. You know what I mean?
Of course.
He's padding his numbers. Me, I was a solid player. I was over in Japan eating all the meat and drinking all the whiskey. I was, we're a little bit different. But when the fall from grace happens, you just have to let it happen. You don't have to, don't fight it, because, again, the reason why I retired is, and this is the truth, there's no way I can compete with these 25-year-old players no more. There's just no way. Like, just no way. So once I realized that, hey, it's time to step away. It's time to go next chapter of my life. And, hey, Kershaw, you made a lot of money. Obviously, I want you to win another ring. Actually, I don't. But I do.
Take it easy with that. Take it easy with that talk.
I don't like you that much, but I love you. In the organization. But, like, he's going to the Hall of Fame. And, there's going to be a point where he just has to call it up. Is this his year? Was last night a point to where he said, you know what? This is it. This could be my last year. Like Kiermaier said that. He said, hey, my body is telling me I can just, he's made a lot of money. He's got a beautiful family. Like it's okay to walk away from the game on your own terms and with your head held high. You don't always have to walk away with that injury with, walking off with the trainer. You know what I mean? You can walk away with your head held high. It's totally okay. Like Big Papi, he walked away with his head held high. It's totally okay.
But, he's still walking to the Dodgers. Kiermaier is one of their pickups, and that's an age, they've got some aging guys, and they look a little vulnerable right now, Adam. I'm sure when you're in town, you're going to see the excitement at Petco Park. Padres now just 4.5 games back, and, the division hasn't been in play really for the Padres in a very long time, and there's some excitement building here. What do you think? I mean, obviously the Dodgers are going to get some guys back. Mookie at some point. Freddie's only gone for a few days on the personal list, but are the Dodgers vulnerable enough that you think the Padres could chase them down in the last 2 months?
Oh, 100% vulnerable. I mean, Padres have won 9 out of 10. It proves that they can play at the highest level. You know what I mean? We all know that. And then again, it's just the law of average. You get on a skid. And again, I'm not putting a bad juju out there. I hope they're going to stay on another 9 or 10. But the Dodgers are definitely reachable. Again, the looming return of Muncy and of Mookie. I mean, those are two very, very good dynamic players. And right now, with Freddie out dealing with some family issues, some personal things, I think that this is the time to attack. This is the time to it's sports. You kick them when they're down. You don't care. That you don't kick people in society when they're down, but in sports, you kick a team's whole ass when they're down. So this is the time. And I just, again, hope that they stay on this. You got 60 games, man, or I don't know the exact number, but you got 2 months. It's time to kick it in that last gear. I want to see that young dude Merrill. I want to see that because this is his rookie year. I want to see him, learn and adapt to this August, because we all know it's the dog days of August that start today. And the weather on the West Coast helps out with that, because you're not sitting out here sweating all day like you are here on the East Coast. But I hope that he continues to carry the team, because I told him at the All-Star game, I said, bro, you've been the reason why the Padres have stayed. He's playing great center field. He's moved up from 9th to sometimes hitting 5th, like in a rookie year. I know it's different lineups and constructions nowadays, but the Padres still have a more traditional lineup. So, I'm just hoping for just some real good baseball, and the Dodgers are catchable. They are, and it's just a matter of getting Yu Darvish back, getting Musgrove healthy. Like, it's just everybody got to get healthy, and then there's no excuses.
Who would you have for your Rookie of the Year, Merrill or Skeens in the National League? It's not over yet, but
it's obviously not over. I mean, I think Skeens, by him, first off, by his numbers, that's just him starting the All-Star game. It's not. I'm not going to use the popularity contest, because he's actually disgusting. You know what I mean?
He is.
It's not like if it was a popularity contest, I would say that.
It's so harder to do it though as a position player, right, Adam? I mean, doing it every day is harder.
100%. Yeah, I think doing it every day is harder. But what he's been able to do, and he's drawn fans to that ballpark. Like those are the things. Like Skeens Day. But again, there's 2 months to go. Jackson can finish with 20 plus and 20, 30 Gold Glove possibilities. Like there's a lot that still's riding on. There's 2 months to go. And to me, Rookie of the Year to me is similar to an MVP. I like it when they're on winning their team, and both teams are fighting for the playoffs. So I think both of their impact should be felt, and we should be able to calculate that.
Jeff in our chat wanted me to pass along, because you made the recommendation last week to get the crab egg rolls from Jimmy's, and he says they have changed his life, Adam. So thank you for the the recommendation there from Jeff in our chat last week from Baltimore.
Awesome. I just try to give recommendations. You know what I mean? I don't mess with you. I ain't gonna tell you something bad to put in your body with food. So it was I had a few myself.
Adam, appreciate it. Looking forward to seeing you in town in a couple of weeks. Should be a lot of fun. Have a great rest of your birthday today. Celebrate 39, and we'll talk to you again soon, man.
I appreciate you, gentlemen.
There he is.
Happy birthday.
Adam Jones, the birthday boy, and 5-time All-Star. I find something, one of the most satisfying, simple pleasures in life is when you give someone a heartfelt recommendation and they absolutely love the thing that you recommend.
Right.
Isn't that just a great
We recommend
feeling?
things all the time, but to be like, no, you're going to die. You have to get this.
And then you're always worried, but maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm the only one who thinks that. But then when someone goes and
pressure.
tries something, like when I tell you the Kung Pao chicken is really good, and then Woods finally has it, and he goes, oh my God, you're right. It is the best Kung Pao chicken at Sammy's at 7 Mile.
If you hyped it up for a year and Woods had it, and he was like, ugh.
It doesn't feel good. So, yeah, when recommendations are taken and then appreciated, it's such a great feeling. All right, Uncle Teddy should be arriving shortly. Can't wait. That is coming up next here on The Fan. Halfway home on a Throwback Thursday. Welcome back in. Ben and Woods with Woodsy on vacation. It's been Ben and Paul. And Paul's about to head down to retrieve our special guest who's going to be joining us in studio this hour. Looking forward. Padres Hall of Famer Ted Leitner is going to be here. Story time with Teddy. And I will carry us until you bring him back. So, Paulie, head down and fetch our guest. Thank you very much. Padres, of course, won last night 8-1 over the Los Angeles Dodgers, sweeping the two-game series and clinching their first season series over the Dodgers since 2010, which also happens to be the last time they were this close to first place this late in the season. That was the year they ended up finishing 2 games short of the San Francisco Giants after they lost to the Giants on the last day of the year. Had a chance to tie them up. Who knows? Padres have one more 3-game series late in the season at Dodger Stadium against the Dodgers. How important could that series end up being? If you're only 2 or 3 games back, harkens back to the 1996 San Diego Padres. Really one of the best endings to a regular season when the Padres were 2 games back, I think, of the Dodgers. So the only way they could win the division was to sweep the series. Now, they clinched the wild card, but they went on and, of course, they swept the series. Chris Gwynn, Tony Gwynn's brother, had the big hit, and they ended up winning the division back in 1996. They won in 1998, then again in 2005, 2006, but the Padres have not won an NL West title since that 2006 season. So it's been a long time, and it's very much in play at 4.5 games back. And now with the tiebreaker, there's no game 163 anymore. So they have the tiebreaker at the end of the season. There he is. Come on in. So it could be a very interesting September for the Padres and the Dodgers coming up. Later in the show, Eno Sarris is going to join us. We'll talk about some of the new additions to the Padres bullpen at the trade deadline. Looked really good last night. Saw a couple of the newcomers who came in late in the game. Padres have some big-time arms that Mike Shildt can go to now late in the games. It's the riches that you've got after a trade deadline, which is great. Did Paulie miss you on the way down? So, okay. So Adam found Ted on his way upstairs while Paulie was in the elevator going down to get Ted the other way, which is why I've got Adam Klug and trying to figure out what's happening. Paulie is probably the most confused person right now. He's gone down and he's thinking Ted Leitner is going to be downstairs. And instead, he's looking around. Uncle Teddy, good morning. It is so good to see you. You can control your own microphone right there as a radio professional. There's your button. If you want to turn it off and cough, whatever, you've got the control.
Thank you for this little orientation. This is a radio studio, and this is the microphone.
Have you been in one or two of these?
There's the clock, the almighty clock. It's all about time, selling time. So, here's a great orientation. It's over. How you been?
I've been really good. I mean, this has been a really fun season. How have you been?
That.
You look great, by the way.
Thank you. I feel great.
How have you been spending your time this baseball season?
I sit at home and I eat my liver because I'm thinking, hey, all the baseball teams I had, they weren't this good. They weren't playing like this. The noise level. Tuesday, Wednesday was back to the Dodgers in 22. In the playoffs, it was just make your skin crawl kind of noise, and that was just you can't buy that, man. You can't buy it. They got it.
It is fun when the Padres and Dodgers are like this and they're competitive, because so many years they weren't. The Dodgers just handed the Padres their hat so many times. It was just
13 consecutive years they'd taken the series until this year.
But I was, reminiscing like 1996. What an ending that year, winning the last 3 games of the season to beat the Dodgers.
One of my favorite memories of all time. One of my favorite memories of all time, and going into the old Dodger Stadium visiting clubhouse, which is now, by the way, R&D. You go in there, and the entire locker room, it doesn't look like a locker room. It's offices now with little 14,000 cubicles for these little guys there that sit there in their laptops. Research and development, analytics, metrics, all that stuff that I was so big into. It's just, I have to tell myself, this is where it was all going. And Trevor, 1 game, 2 game, 3 game, done, sweep. If the Padres win, they get the division title. If the Dodgers win, they get it, and the loser gets the wild card. 3 of the greatest days of all time in Dodger Stadium, and the last 2 here were quite nice.
Paulie, how confused were you when you went down the elevator?
You have no idea.
Ted
Ted had just texted me, and I went down. We have 3 elevators, and I went down one. I look around. I'm like, he's not in the lobby. All the buildings are very similar looking. I go, maybe he's in a different lobby. I'm literally walking around the courtyard. As I was going down the elevator, him and Adam were coming up, and I just missed him. I'm going, where the hell is everybody?
Yeah, it's like a roaming old man now. You know what I mean? My kids go through the same thing. My grandchildren go through the same thing. Where's Pop? Where's Dad? And it's just that, kind of walking along, trying not to run into the walls and trying to be where I'm supposed to be on time.
Well, hey,
this age thing, I mean, come on.
You got to figure it out. It's so nice to have you, Ted. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks, Paul. I appreciate it, man.
I texted you when it happened, but let me officially congratulate you on the upcoming retirement. Not yet, though. You got one more basketball season to call, and saw Dutch at the game last night. He was sitting in the seats right behind home plate, enjoying, some of the success that he's had. To the winner go the spoils, and that must
Dutch,
be.
Hey, Dutch, nice seats, man.
That must be so satisfying, though, for you. After so many years of, let's be honest, Aztec basketball before Steve Fisher and Brian Dutcher it's pretty pathetic, actually. It was pretty pathetic.
You think so?
And to get to see what you've done, the run to the national championship, the Sweet 16s, the NCAA tournaments every year, you probably never thought you'd live to see that day, but that is incredible.
No, I never thought 2 things. That the Aztecs would be a powerhouse basketball program. They are. I never thought there'd be a campus type, even though it's off campus, but the campus is going out to meet the football stadium. I never, ever thought there'd be a football/soccer stadium for San Diego State. Those 2 things would never happen in my lifetime, and they've happened. I'll quote an unnamed Aztec coach who I had on the radio the very first game in 1999, when Fish and Dutch came here with a program that so many coaches good coaches who tried to build, successful coaches, Sweet 16 coaches who could not build this into anything. And the late, great Al McGuire, the great basketball commentator before that coach, who worked with my buddy Dick Enberg for years and years and years. They were like brothers. And Al always said, you can't succeed here because of the bell. The what now? The bell. What do you mean? The bell? Ding. Ding, ding, the sailboats. The sailboats.
Out in the harbor.
The sunshine. Nobody gives a big frosty crank about basketball. It's got to be a cold environment someplace where they all come in and the entire city goes around this arena and packs this arena every game. Kansas, Kentucky,
New York,
wherever.
Indiana.
And exactly. You'll never do that. You'll never do that, Al told me. Never, never, never. Steve Fisher, Brian Dutcher did that. And I'll give you another quote from an unnamed Aztec staff member with that first game in '99 with Fisher and Dutch, and in a 5-23 season where Steve used to go around the campus and hand out tickets. I told him one day, Steve, if I took 2 tickets at Channel 8 and put them on the bulletin board, the next day there'd be 4 tickets up there. Nobody goes. Nobody wants to go. And a unnamed coach, after that first game, on the beginning of the post-game show, leaned into me and he said, I have a question. When my predecessor gave these guys scholarships, had he seen them play? It was that bad. It was that bad. And I said, I assume so. He was a lovely guy and a tremendous junior college championship type coach. But no one could do this. Steve Fisher and Brian Dutcher did this.
And I will admit, I had my doubts when Brian Dutcher was going to take over. You worry. Like, okay, Steve Fisher, will the magic be gone without the big name, the guy who came from Michigan at the head of the program? And I just wondered, all right, is it going to have the same cachet? Dutch has not only carried it on, but he's actually taken it to another level.
Dutch has suitcases full of cachet. He has boxes in his garage full of cachet.
And it goes to show you that a lot of Steve Fisher's success, take nothing away from Coach Fisher, who's a great Tier 1 listener of the show, probably listening right now. But Dutch was so instrumental to all the success he had at Michigan and recruiting the Fab Four and every Fab Five and everything.
See, and people talk the C word. They always use the C word, culture, and everybody wants to have culture. Everybody thinks they have culture. These guys had culture at Michigan. The truth of the matter is, people thought that defense with Steve Fisher and Brian Dutcher began here. Oh, no. Didn't matter who you were. You could be Jalen Rose. You could be Chris Webber. If you didn't defend, you sat right next to Dutch. You had a good seat. It was a good, lovely seat. You had a great sight line of the game. You had a chance to relax and drink some water and watch the game. But you didn't play. That culture started there because those coaches had the culture in their minds and the way they coach. And they had the success there. And Dutch was huge in recruiting the Fab Five. And I went to call. I did an interview with Dutch, and I happened to call it the Fab Four.
I know, it's the Beatles. They're not the Beatles. They're the Fab Five.
And thank God we were taping, because Dutch kind of leaned in while we were taping, and I said, "What? You call them the Fab Four?" Hey, yes, that's the Beatles, you old man, you. I wasn't even an old man then. It's the Fab Five. Oh, no, I know. I just slipped. I didn't hear me.
I just did it too, so it's fine.
And what Dutch has done has been absolutely unbelievable. It's impossible to have filled those shoes of Steve Fisher. By gosh, he filled them, and like you said, moved to the next level.
But he's done it, and as you said, the culture of you got to play defense and to get on the court. But he's also not the dictator. He's not Bobby Knight, and he respects the players. He lets them be themselves, just like with the Fab Five and their long shorts, and they were able to, gives them a lot of freedom on offense. If you miss a shot, you're not just coming right out of the game. That's part of that culture as well. That's a lot different than some other college basketball coaches out there.
And think of how important that is and how overlooked it is. And I'm glad you brought it up, Ben, because in this day and age, just like in baseball free agency, players talk. It's a fraternity. It's a union. In this particular case, even closer. It's been going on for forever. And when people hear about not just the city of San Diego, they've visited, they know what it's like, and their wives and their family. Oh, we're going to go to San Diego. It's wonderful. But then they learn about the clubhouse. There's been you talked about the 96 team and the 98 team. That 98 team texts each other multiple times every week. They're brothers. And see, there's another, it's a brotherhood. But not all teams, most teams are not. The Aztecs and the Padres have brotherhoods in those clubhouses, in those locker rooms, and they truly are like that. And that is something, again, you cannot buy. It's like Jaden Ledee. When I talked to him, how'd you find out? Well, the way Jaden works out, like a maniac with those huge guns and amazing body. And a friend of his says, hey, you're looking for a school. A friend of mine went to San Diego State. Man, those guys are a brother. Those guys are in the practice facility. You go in at 3 o'clock in the morning. You think you're going to shoot by yourself. There's 9 guys already there when you get there at 2 o'clock in the morning. Jaden, you would love San Diego State. They work like crazy. They have each other's back. It is a family, and they play defense. That's perfect for you. That's how they get a Jaden Ledee, because of their reputation around the country, which in the Final Four, when Charles Barkley started saying, oh, my God, these are grown men. Look at these guys. Number 1 Alabama, they beat the you-know-what out of them in the second half. Then everybody now, not just here, knows.
Paulie, didn't Andy Ashby tell us they've got like a text thread where there's just a ton of those 98 guys,
Trevor,
and they just
Ashby.
constantly, they're all just on that same thread, just texting each other constantly.
I did a panel discussion when they brought the 98 Club home, and I forget what room, wherever, at Petco, and there was about 6 guys. There was Finley and Go-Go Gomez and all those guys up on the podium, and Greg Vaughn, and I'm the MC, and their phones are going off through the entire thing. And I said, hold it, let's pause here. Who are you getting texts from? Our teammates. And they would name them. And I said, well, this is because they know you're here. No, this goes on every day of our lives. We are with that 98 Club. We will always be with them, as we were with the fans. And the Aztecs during the NCAA run did the same thing. And they had that same brotherhood. One of my favorite coaching moments came in Houston in the Final Four, before I forget which game. What might have been a championship game, might have been the game before that. And I come in the locker room, and Dutch, in terms of his pregame pep talk, the final one, merely had written on the blackboard, "Be us." And to an Aztec, they understand what that means. We're not odd. We're tough. We're tougher than they are. We play defense like nobody's business. Just today, don't worry. Don't overextend. Don't get nervous. be us. That was a great, great moment, I thought.
I'm thrilled to have you here. We're going to take a time out. We're going to talk some Padres. You're an ambassador for the Padres.
I am, by the way, with a capital A.
You're going to do a little ambassading, in our next segment. I want to get your thoughts.
I can ambassador with the best of them.
Thoughts on Mike Shildt and this year's team. And then since you're here in studio, you're going to be here. I've got some questions, just story time about your career on television, on radio. I am thrilled to have you here.
So many people have already chimed in the last 15 minutes. It's great to see you. We're on YouTube. They said you look great. You're the voice of so many people's childhood, they said. And this is just a wonderful trip down memory lane.
It is something, speaking of you can't buy, Jerry Coleman always told me that when I was with him as number 2 for a long time and enjoyed every second of it. And he would say, "Hey, you'll be here long enough, and people you'll be amazed at the impact you can have, like I've had, meeting Jerry, on their families and listening to games with their grandma and their grandfather, and now they hear you and you're reminded of that." And I thought, yeah, whatever, sure. And Jerry was right, and it's the greatest, warmest of the cockling of my heart of all time. It's so wonderful.
More in studio with Uncle Teddy, Ted Leitner, when we come back right after a check of traffic here on 97.3 The Fan. We'll be right back. Special treat this morning. We are in studio with Padres Hall of Famer. Only 17 Padres Hall of Famers in the 55 years of franchise history. Ted Leitner is one of them. They never take that away from you.
Wow, that is that says it. It really does. I can't tell you. I've never expected it. I never ever expected it. Thank you, Peter Seidler. Thank you so much. That was just unbelievable to me. And when Peter and I talked, and I said, my eyesight's starting to go from trying to track that little white baseball and all the travel and all that. I had gone and fell down the steps at the Westin Hotel in San Francisco on Union Square. We came in like at 2 o'clock in the morning, and we go in the side entrance with the team buses with the Padres, and I'm carrying one suitcase in one hand and a carry-on in the other, and I'm going down the stairs, a long staircase. And I think, uh-oh, and I lose my balance. Old people lose their balance sometimes. And I go, boom, tumbling, butt over tea kettle all the way down. Embarrassed. And the players, of course, they're no mercy.
Oh, of course,
no mercy. Yeah. It's like, which is a good thing because they treat you like a teammate because you've been there so long. And the Hispanic called me Joven. Young man, which they meant viejo. So either they called me Joven to be
it's ironic,
or they called me old man, and it was Joven. What's wrong? And just one comment after another. Come on, get up, get down the staircase. And I told Peter, I got to get out of here. And Peter said, hey, and I'll never forget it as long as I live. And I'm not boasting. I'm not patting myself on the back. But it was Peter and myself in his office for an hour before a Sunday game during that final season of 2020 for me. And he said, hey, you're an icon. You're a legend. Caminetti's gone, Tony Gwynn is gone, Jerry Coleman's gone, and I want you with the ball club. I want you around the ballpark, and I had tears in my eyes, trying not to bawl like a little boy, but no one ever said that to me. And I never heard that before. I never considered myself an icon, a Padre legend. That's the players, as far as I'm concerned. And for Peter Seidler to tell me that, and to treat me the way he did, so lovely, so nice. And it's hard, man, because I miss everything about it, win or lose. Even when I had losing seasons, I couldn't wait to get to the ballpark and see Jerry Coleman and laugh and have fun and travel with Jerry right across the aisle there in the first row and coach. It was just spectacular. So, Peter, thank you for everything, including the Hall of Fame.
I'm glad you brought up Peter, because I don't know how much I believe in karma and fate, but certainly remember 1984 after Ray Kroc passed away, and they were wearing the RAK patches, and now they've got the PS hearts that they're wearing, and they keep in the dugout. And there's undoubtedly, compared to last season, a magic about this year's team that was just missing last year.
It wasn't there, and I don't know why.
And now it is. And, believe what you want, Ted. What do you believe?
1 year soon, the baseball gods will smile on the San Diego Padres, and we will have a parade.
I mean, someone's looking over this team right now, it feels like.
I've been so lucky in my life. I worked for Ray Kroc, as you mentioned, and Joan Kroc. And Joan and I were extremely close, much closer than me and Ray. And she was like a sister to me. It was just unbelievable. And had John Moores, one of the great people of all time. And then I get to work for Peter Seidler. I don't know what I ever did in a former life to be so lucky and to work for people that they were going to make it a family here. And like culture in basketball teams, they all say that, but they're not. They're not families. Corporations, it's hard to be a family. We were family with John Moores. We are family with Peter Seidler, and now the Seidler family. And I just, I find it to be pinch. How did this happen to me? But Peter, you watch over these boys, and they'll get to that parade.
Obviously, you've seen many Padres managers come and go. Dick Williams, a lot of them in the late '80s and '90s, and then Boch came in obviously for a long time. Buddy Black, Mike Shildt was the first one in a long time that you're not talking to every day. What's your impressions though of Mike Shildt?
I love Shildt.
You do.
I mean, I had never met him when he was with the Cardinals for whatever reason when they were playing the Padres. So I go and in April, I go downstairs in the clubhouse. I see Manny. Manny's one of my favorite Padres of all time. Gives me a big hug. I see Tati and those guys, and I don't know. And Joe Musgrove, of course, grew up here, and I've known him, but it's just It's like I said, it's different. You miss it. You're not traveling with them. You're not part of it, and you have to transition for that. And so you do that, but you miss all of that in the clubhouse and on the charter planes and just the whole thing, and seeing other broadcasters that come here and you go there. And but I can't complain. I had 41 years, so I go to the office in the clubhouse, and I walk in. And I say, Mike, I'm Ted Leitner. I know who you are. I know who you are. Congratulations on the Hall of Fame. And hey, listen, I want you around here. I want you to come in. Don't be a stranger. And I'm thinking, we've done it again. Like you said, we had Bruce Bochy for a decade. I got to travel with him and do the manager's report. Same thing with Buddy Black. And now you got Mike Shildt here. And look what he's been doing without Tatis, without Musgrove, without Darvish. This unbelievable. And they love him. And I went to the dinner on the Diamond once again, which raises like $1 million. I've never, in all my associations doing Charger football and Aztec football and basketball and the Clippers when they were here, never has there been a banquet that raises so much money, that is so entertaining as having that dinner right on the field, the dinner on the Diamond. And Mike gave a tremendous talk. And it was amazing that this is your day off. I went through that, where people would call you and say, hey, can you come and talk to us on so-and-so date? Well, I have to check my schedule. No, we already checked. So you're toast. You're toast. You want to spend some time with your children, your family, and they say, no, we already checked. You're off that day. It's the day off. Yes, it's the one day off in a month and a half. I want to be with my family, but they got you, and so you go and talk because you're representing the ball club, and you try to do those things. And here was the Padre team. Their day off, long road trip, all that stuff, and they're all there to raise money for the different Padre foundations and charities. That's the culture that's been in the clubhouse, like I said, before 96, and still there.
It's and you can credit Mike Shildt, but it's a good brand of baseball, and it's not necessarily the one that modern teams subscribe to.
True.
It's making contact at the plate, hitting for average, which everyone says doesn't matter, hitting for average, but they hit, they make contact, they play fundamental, good defense most of the time, really good defense, throw strikes. I mean, that's what Mike Shildt's old school about all of that. And people say, that's not going to work in the modern day, but it's working for these San Diego Padres.
It does. And Mike was in that Cardinal system. The Cardinal system, I remember when the gang of 15, whatever they were called, with Tom Werner and those guys, the ownership here, and to acclimate all those guys, because they all were basically, I don't know the structure, how it's in law, but they were all partners in this thing. And Tom Werner would come down. He was doing the Cosby Show then, and he would come down and be around, but he needed those other owners to run the club and do all that along with Dick Freeman, his CEO. So same thing. They took everybody on opening day of that season in the early 90s, and they flew to St. Louis to study the Cardinals. Because it was like the Dodgers always said, the Dodger way, the Cardinal way. Everybody doing the same thing through the farm system. Padres did not have that way back when, in the 70s and then into the 80s. Then they did. Now they do. So it's the Padre way. But Mike has been there and is doing it his way. And that's the old-fashioned kind of manager that uses the analytics, uses the metrics, incorporates them, takes what he wants, but he still has the old school way. And I love that.
We got a lot of people listening. We've got some people who are nostalgic and are loving hearing Ted's voice. We've got some younger audience members who don't even really know Ted Leitner's story. So we're going to take a time out. When we come back, we're going to hear a little bit more about Ted's career here in San Diego on radio and television and where it all started. And I'm going to ask him how he survived it all, because he did even more than I do. And everyone knows no one seems to be on air more than I am right now, but Ted did more than I did when he was back in the 80s and 90s. You couldn't turn on a TV or radio in San Diego without Ted Leitner there.
That was a good thing, and it was a bad thing.
I'm very polarizing as well. So we're going to get into some of those questions and some of Ted's history coming up next. Don't go away. More here on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 Fan. You want to read a liner while you're here? No, I'll take care of it, Uncle Teddy. Baseball coverage on 97.3 The Fan is presented by T-Mobile. Switch to T-Mobile. You can get tons of benefits, still save on every plan versus AT&T and Verizon. Use their savings calculator to find out how at T-Mobile.com/switch. You probably read, I don't know, 250,000 of those during your baseball calling career and radio career?
Yeah. I did, and I enjoyed it because as you and I and Paul were discussing, this is commercial radio, and the money is important to keep it on the air, and I always bought into that big time, and it was simply wonderful. I tried to pattern myself after Dan Ingram, who was the disc jockey 2 to 6 on WABC in New York when I was growing up, and is considered, by the way, he's gone now, he was considered the greatest disc jockey of all time. So funny, great voice. He would do all those ad libs. I never heard him kick a word in the 20 years he was at WABC. And I thought, oh my gosh, if I could have that and be that good, and I'm not, and I never was, but I tried to do it like he did in a conversational tone, not reading it, and try to ad lib as much of it as possible. And he was just a god with a small G at doing that, and a great influence on me in getting into broadcasting. And I was able to send him an email through a mutual friend late in his life and thank him, like I have for so many people who helped me and guided me and got me in love with broadcasting.
That's what they say about me, Paulie, right? Never kicks a word, never flubs anything. He's always precise and perfect on the air.
Paul, did you hear him?
Yeah.
Paulie saves every mistake.
Paul, did you hear him?
I heard him.
Paulie saves every mistake I make. We actually have a segment where they just play them all back at the end of the week. Every single mistake.
They do
yes,
that.
I know.
Then because they love you.
I know.
That's why.
All right, so you started obviously in New York. I want to hear about coming out to San Diego via Oklahoma when you got here, and a little more about your career. First, quick check of traffic with Kelly Danick here on 97.3 The Fan.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
Happy to report no incidents or accidents on our roads. Crash has cleared on northbound 5 before the 54. Still going to see a few brake lights heading through National City after that. I'm Kelly Danick with Ben & Woods, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
Ted Leitner in studio with us. And so when you made your way out to San Diego via Oklahoma,
yes, via a bus. I always use that standard answer. People say, how'd you get out to Oklahoma? On a Greyhound bus for 39 hours, stopping in every little hamlet around the country. A lovely tour, and that's literally how I got there.
Did you ever think, though, at the beginning that this would be the last stop, that you'd be here forever? Or were you like most broadcasters? All right, do San Diego for a couple of years, then maybe I'll get back to the Big Apple or, Chicago, I'll get to a big spot. Or did you know, like, right away, no, I want to settle down. I want to stick around here.
Well, I knew because I'm a sun worshiper. I love that. I always got a great tan.
Tan? What?
Love that all the time. Love that all the time. There were radio morning shows years ago that used to do that on the air. How does Ted Leitner get it? It's a phony tan, right? It's a phony tan. How does he get it? Is it man tan? That stuff you used to wipe on that was just like mustard. Put man tan on.
Spray
tanning
tan.
bed.
Tan in a can.
And they would take calls with people wondering about that, but I loved that. So I flew to Detroit. A friend of mine, a former news director of mine, was a news director at Channel 2 in WJBK in Detroit, and I literally fly in a blizzard. They closed the airport as we're taxiing. The pilot says, "Listen, if you know where the terminal is, ring your call button because I can't find it. It's blinding snow. Can't do it." And they just closed the airport. We're the last plane to get in, and so they offered me twice the money in Detroit, but it's Detroit. It's the old radio comedian Fred Allen used to say, the definition of Detroit is 2 Newarks. And so I'm thinking, this place is bleak. Never mind the snowstorm. Look at this place. It's Detroit. And then I come to San Diego, and that was when there was no Terminal 2, just Terminal 1, and you walked off the plane onto the tarmac, and then you walked from the plane down the steps into that. I just thought, look at this place. I'm walking off the plane into sunshine. I love this place. I would love to be here forever.
So you come in, on television, and you kind of shake up this town a little bit with your style of broadcasting.
Shake up is a very nice euphemism. Thank you. They hated me.
Polarizing.
They hated
obviously
me.
Not everybody did because you're still here. So
yeah.
You got the final laugh.
I need to ask you about it because obviously I've been at Channel 10 now for 20 years.
Right.
As the sports director, but I probably You probably got in one night what I get in about a week on the air with one of your sports segments on Channel 8. And I'm always amazed by the stories how no prompter.
No.
Just you got up and you had your video and you maybe a thought or two and just go. How did that evolve? How did that happen? Because I am always in awe of thinking about that.
I was leaving Oklahoma City and the CBS affiliate there and going to the CBS affiliate in Hartford owned by Post Newsweek. And in that interim couple of weeks, I thought, well, I'm in Oklahoma City. I need to put pressure on myself so I won't feel pressure when I get to Hartford. I mean, it's not a big market, but it's a station with a huge ratings. And I'm over here, and Chris Berman is at the UHF at Channel 39, which we've talked about.
Oh, the old days, VHF and UHF.
Exactly, VHF, UHF, no
Now
HD.
I'm dating myself that I remember the difference between. Paul has no idea what we're talking about.
Chris and I have talked about that many times, about our young days, and he was not doing any nicknames or anything like that back then, or any of that stuff. And I thought, how can I put pressure on? I'll get rid of my script, which I did use in Oklahoma City until the last 2 weeks. And then I told the director, listen, I'm going to start with Oklahoma football. We'll do an interview with Jimmy Johnson, the Oklahoma State coach. Then we're going to have this and that. But I'm just going to bounce around and ad-lib it, or try to, and get it all. And then we'll do it that way. Why? You're driving me nuts. Why? Because I want to put pressure on myself going into a new market, because I know me. I'll be nervous because of the new surroundings. So I did that, and then got rid of the script forever and would tell the director what I was going to do. And the important thing was, when they did the marketing research at Channel 8 in San Diego, people who didn't even care about sports would say, it's fascinating. I don't care about sports, but he's looking right at me. It's like he's talking right to me. He's not doing that head up and down thing, reading a script, and he's talking to me. I've never had that happen before. I didn't plan that. I didn't know it would happen, but it was really something important to me during that love-hate thing, because the truth of the matter is, and I just saw my former news director, Jim Holtzman, in retirement, where he lives in North Carolina, when I had a vacation in last month, or in June. And Jim told me, well, you didn't know, but the CEO of Channel 8 came to me at the end of your first year. You have a 1-year guaranteed contract, and that's it. And he came to me and said, I think we're going to have to find a new sports guy. I don't like this guy, and my friends at the country club don't like this guy. He's giving his opinion all the time. He's got a big mouth, typical New York big mouth, and it looks like, here's where people are there for you, and you don't do it on your own, no matter how much ego you have. And you have to have ego, as you know, and think you're pretty good, or you'll get crushed in this business. So some ego is necessary. So he tells the news director, we're going to have to probably get a new sports guy. I don't like this guy. And Jim Holtzman says to him, well, when you're getting the new sports guy, get a new news director too. Because I talk about somebody standing behind you with character. Wow. I brought this guy in. I hired him. If you get rid of him after 1 year, and I know it's working, I know it's going to work. I know that. I hear that from people. Even the ones that hate him keep saying, I hate him. I'll never, why do you hate him? He said this. And Jim says, well, they quote me 7 things he said. They must still be watching, even though they didn't. I think this can work. And he had to talk the CEO into it by threatening to quit. That's the only reason I'm here now.
I think, nowadays there are sports TV personalities, the Skip and Shannon and Stephen A. who revel in being the villain. And I never got that sense from you. You would antagonize people. You weren't trying to. But the person who usually sits in that chair would. Howard Stern is one of his heroes, the radio heroes.
He was in Hartford when I was in Hartford.
There you go.
Howard was on radio and I was in Hartford.
And there's a scene from the movie Private Parts where the executive comes in and goes, half the audience loves you. They listen 2 hours a day. It's incredible. And they go, and the other half, they hate you. And they listen 4 hours a day.
And it's true.
And that most common answer, I want to hear what he's going to say next.
All of us who made it had to thank Howard Cosell. It wasn't Howard Stern. It was another Howard. Howard Cosell put up with all the slings and the arrows. There was a little bar in Pittsburgh for every Monday night football game that would buy an old black and white television. They'd draw straws, and each guy who lost, got the short straw, would have to bring in an old black and white television, and they would all bring in bricks. And they gather around, and they go, hello again, everyone, Howard Cosell. And the guy who drew the straw again was able to take the brick, run up on the television, and throw it and smash the TV when Cosell was on. That's hate. That's hate. And he did that. He stood up for Muhammad Ali when it was unpopular to do that. He defended the black athlete, beginning with Jackie Robinson. And Cosell did all that, and people loved him or hated him. And Howard Stern jumped on that. They didn't believe in it. I am not smart enough to have planned it. I did not plan that or plan to be a Howard Cosell. I am an opinionated, obnoxious person, and that's what I was. And so if I had planned it, I would have screwed it up. It just happened. It just happened, and people more talented than me probably didn't make it, but I was at the right time, the right station, with the right boss who would protect me, which he did, and that's the only reason I made it.
We're talking to Ted Leitner. When you are opinionated, though, and you've got a TV platform and a radio platform, and you're calling games, athletes will hear that. We had a story earlier today where there was a host in Tennessee, and one of the Titans players came up and got into an argument with him just sitting there because of something he had tweeted. I know you had some of those experiences.
Some.
What are some of the memorable ones?
We paid Dan Fouts to come on Fridays and Mondays before and after Charger games to do the preview and then the postmortem on Monday, and we pay him for that. So Dan calls me one time and says, I can't come in live. We got to tape it. So I meet him at the old stadium, and we're taping. In the middle of the taping, Raleigh Fingers comes out of the Padre clubhouse, out of the dugout, and he walks across and he stops. He looks at who's doing it, me and Dan Fouts interviewing. And in the middle of the interview, Raleigh yells out, "Hey, Dan! What are you talking to that bastard for?" And I thought, okay, Danny, we got to start over. And this went on all the time when Jerry, I can see him and I can't think of his name right now.
Jerry Gross. No.
A player who, Dave Winfield.
Jerry Royster.
Outfielder, left fielder.
Jerry.
Short. Jerry Turner. Jerry Turner. They announced that Dave Winfield is going away as a free agent, and Jerry Turner will replace him. So I go on Channel 8 that night, and I say, you got to understand, with Jerry Turner replacing a Dave Winfield, if you enter a Volkswagen at the Indy 500, you better know a hell of a shortcut. And boy, was he happy. So I forgot about that. I go down to the ballpark, and I'm on the field, and I hear, Volkswagen, huh? Huh? What? And it's Jerry Turner in my face. Volkswagen. And I don't remember what that means or what he's talking about. And Jerry, what are you saying? Volkswagen? That's what you think? And he's ready to punch my lights out. This happened many, many times because the players hated my guts. And the only guy who ever came up and said, Steve Garvey, in the clubhouse, I know what you're doing. I know that you give those opinions. People don't like it. They can read a newspaper editorial, but when you're right there looking at them and telling them that in their living room, they don't like it. But and Garv was complimentary and encouraging to stick to your guns, do what you do, and that was the one. That's the one. And then Ken Caminetti came up to me one time, sitting on the dugout bench, and he said, "I really like what you do." I said, "That's because you're not watching." That's because you got batting practice at that time at 5 o'clock, and you're on the road. You can't see me on the road. No, he laughed and he said, "No, people tell me the things that you say, and I know that you say enough good things about us as well as the criticism, and I appreciate that." And coming from Caminetti, that meant a lot to me.
Well, we were talking about this. Just randomly came up a few days ago that you didn't like the Dodgers when you were calling games, and
the Dodgers.
The Dodgers didn't like you either.
They hated me more than I hated them. That was the first thing Rick Monday said when they hired Rick Monday, former Dodger, to be a broadcaster, and I worked with him and Jerry Coleman and of course Bob Chandler, and Mo would say, "Oh, you have no idea." He said, "Reggie Smith, I believe, will kill you someday." I'm almost convinced of this because he hates you so much. And here's that Howard Stern thing. And Reggie would get dressed. Well, like Sosha and all those Dodgers, and they would get to the hotel to see what the hell you were going to say that night to piss them off. But like masochism, they wanted to hear what you had to say.
They wanted more of it.
So they could hate you more. So that was what made it work. And he would always say that. And Sosha became a Padre for one spring training in Yuma. And I said, "Mike, I know who you are." I don't want to talk to you. It's unbelievable.
I mean, if this were it's a little different nowadays, but if this were like the 90s, Max Muncy would have already punched Woods in the face at some point. With some of the things that he says about the Dodgers, I mean.
No, and I always refer to them as the Dodger crybabies. Even on the scoreboard where they have the names up there for the teams at night before the internet and all that way back when. To show how old I really am, and the very same thing. I'd always call them the crybabies because they whined one time that the Padres were doing too much celebrating and so forth. And Juan Badilla crosses home plate and points to the plate against the Dodgers, and the Dodgers are just ready to kill him. Back then, you didn't get away with any of that stuff without getting a fastball behind your head. And so when I talked to the Dodgers back then, and Reggie Smith was the worst, but there were so many of them that hated me much more than I hated them.
I'm going to do something unprofessional. Can you stick around one more segment?
Sure.
Thank you so much, because I need to ask you how you survived it and got all the way through, doing mornings and nights, because I'd like to keep doing this and, get to your age at some point. So a little more with Ted Leitner when we come back here. Next, Ben and Woods on 97.3 The Fan. So my goal is to, someday get to retirement where our guest Ted Leitner has coasted. Now, you're not fully retired.
I am not retired. I hate to do this, but Dick Enberg was like that at the end. He did not want to hear that word. And we get done with the game. We take the bus to San Francisco to the hotel. And Dick and I are walking across the lobby, and a bunch of Padre fans always came up to L.A. and San Francisco, still do, to see the team, see the boys. And somebody yells out, "Hey, Dick, enjoy your retirement." And Dick lost it and said, "I'm not retiring. I don't know where you heard that from, but I'm not retiring." And I said, Professor, easy, man. Take it easy. They don't mean anything by that. But broadcasters, like whether it's Dick or me or whomever, and whether it's you, we love it. We love it so much that it becomes part of us, and we can't think of retirement. And I would have never thought of retirement had I not started to have big-time eye problems from glaucoma. It's not a secret, and it's much more difficult to follow those little balls, even the big balls, when you can't see.
But you will always have a job. Even, no more TV, even when the radio and the play-by-play are done. And as great as you were at all of that,
thank you.
You are, bar none, the greatest event host, moderator that has ever lived. And, I think back to the many events that I've attended over the years, Tony Gwynn's Memorial, where it wouldn't feel right in San Diego. I mean, you could be doing that forever. You can, and I don't understand because I get nervous when I stand up in front of people. This is different. On the radio, I can't see the audience. On television, I can't see the audience. Right. But when I stand up and there's people there, I get shaky and nervous. And you look so comfortable up there. How do you do that?
The deodorant fails. Yeah. And you get that big wet spot on both sides. And then you do a joke, and it's crickets. Yeah. And you think, oh, I wish I was dead.
You look so comfortable.
I really wish I was dead. And let me tell you, and I tell this to young groups of young people all the time, or groups of not so young people, that and they did research about this, that people actually fear public speaking more than dying. Yeah. Seinfeld always does that joke about, so you mean you're telling me you'd rather be in the coffin than give the eulogy? Is that what you're saying? And that's the deal. And I wrote this in my book several years ago, would cut school and face the wrath of my father, whose temper was just to the left of Genghis Khan, and know that I was a dead man when I got home, but I would not get up figuring on going by the L's or going by where we sat in the row and have to give an oral report in front of 15 people, and I would cut school. That's how fearful I was of doing that. So many times that I stood at home plate by myself or with Jerry Coleman emceeing, and I would take a deep breath and look at the upper deck full of people, 40,000, and be so excited and so can't wait. I love this so much. And I start to laugh. Say, how the hell did you wind up standing here? You couldn't get up in front of 10 or 15 people or put 2, 3 sentences together. And I tell people you can overcome that. Like Muhammad Ali always said, you got to confront your fear. He had a fear of fighting. He had a fear of fighting and didn't want to fight, so somebody stole his bicycle. You've heard that story. And so he goes to the gym and he trains. He trains, so he's going to find this guy that took his bike and beat the crap out of him, and he did. And find out, hey, kid, you're really good at this. Your hands are so fast, and you're this and you're that. And he became Muhammad Ali, that kind of a thing. And so I just, when I do that MC stuff and love it so much, the contact and the immediacy of the reaction, I cannot believe that it's me. And if I can do it,
amazing.
Anybody can do it.
The true master of ceremonies, Ted Leitner.
No, I appreciate that. And the same thing with going through all the criticism. And it's difficult when you're being criticized, even if your own management does it. Sometimes you go through that. I remember working for Joan Kroc, and who I was close to, but we had the jail-a-thon for the Cancer Society. I believe it was Cancer Society. The jail-a-thon, where alleged celebrities would be arrested by members of the sheriff's department and the police department, and they would be held in jail until they raised enough money
bail to get them out.
Enough people would bid. So Mrs. Kroc called the Cancer Society and said, "Did you arrested Ted?" "Yes." "Okay, I will give you $50,000 if you keep him in the jail." And they said, "No, that's not how it works, Mrs. Kroc." "No, that's what I want you to do." And this was someone I was close to. And she wrote them a check for $50,000.
How long did you stay
in there? till the late at night, not overnight with the drunks and whoever else.
But okay, guys, it's over now.
It's funny. All right, funny joke. It's time.
And it was always like that. It was always like that. And even the ones I thought were, I was close with the owners, but still, you're saying stuff about them being in collusion. Back then in the 80s, I would mention that on the air, and Mrs. Kwok would call the CEO and say, "Are we paying him? Why? He said we're in collusion." Well, you are. You are. I can't be honest. And took all the other owners and kiss my owner and say they're not when they were in 1987. So those kind of things. But you have to have people who will let you get away with it, or you're done. So don't think you're so great and you're so talented. You're there because people are supporting you, and that's why you made it.
So when your schedule was at its very busiest, obviously, I've got the morning show and the TV at night, but you had play-by-play, like late 80s, early 90s. Like, what was the maximum Ted Leitner in your career?
The maximum was 1998.
Okay.
When I was doing the sports in the morning at 7:15 and 8:15 with Hudson and Bauer. A wonderful, fun time. Just to laugh and laugh and laugh. And it was just, and people thought Mac was the straight guy. No, Mac was the funny guy. Joe was the straight guy, and then together they could both be funny together. They brought the humor out in each of them, and just to be with them for that 4 or 5 minute segment was just unbelievable. To where we would laugh and laugh and laugh and trash sponsors. And this sponsor would cancel because I said something about them. It happened one time, and they said, "What happened to you?" They said you're all delayed on your flight and all that stuff. And in the back of my mind, I said, "Shut up, shut up, shut up." They just warned you about talking about sponsors. What? And so Max says, "What airline was it?" And I can't say. Of course you can say. You're on the airline. Don't be a wuss. What airline was it? So I say, well, I can't really say, but I'll say this. They served a continental breakfast, and they fly continental, coast to coast, but I can't tell you what airline it was. That was the old Continental Airlines. And so I get done, Continental cancels, and so the late, great Paul Palmer, our general manager, calls me, and he says, Ted, when you die, they're going to have to hire pallbearers. That's what you're like. You're driving me nuts. You cost me another sponsor. Stop it! Stop it! But we're having so much fun. I don't care. Have fun without saying stuff about the sponsors and the players and the management and the owners are calling me. And it was just a perfect storm to get away with it, have so much fun, get paid well, and just have
you're doing the radio in the morning, and
so
then
7:15, 8:15. I'm sorry,
that's right.
Sidetracked. 7:15, 8:15 morning sports with Hudson and Bauer, and then I would do probably a luncheon speech or something like that, speaking to all the different Rotary, Kiwanis, Lions Club, and try to be in the community and raise money with charities and so forth. And then I would do the 5 o'clock sports on Channel 8. But at 5:15, I would walk down the hall, do a segment with Mark Larson, called Larson with Leitner. And in the middle of his show, I would do a 5:15 sportscast, and then get done there at the radio part of the station, and then walk right to the TV studio to do the first segment, which was called Son of Sports, a little baby-size sports segment at 5:20 something, and then get done with that, and then wait for the main sports at 5:43, and then get done and drive to the ballpark and fill out my scorecard and see Jerry Coleman. We talk about the game and all that, and then I'd take the live minicam and do the 6 o'clock sports.
I remember you sitting in the booth
doing
doing
your booth, and I would, after we get my scorecard and book all ready to go, and read as much as I possibly can. I could not then go down on the field and chat with the boys like I did later, or go in a clubhouse like you should to get information. And you should have seen when I came in the clubhouse what it was like. Oh, my God. Somebody's going to die. Somebody's going to get killed here. That sort of thing. It's unbelievable. And once again, the Garv would defend me. The Garv would defend me. When Gossage and guys like that wanted to literally choke me to death, the Garv would come to my aid. So I'd get done with getting ready for the game upstairs, and then do the 6:40 sports, and then go back on to start the broadcast with Jerry at 7 o'clock, and get done at around 10:15 sometimes, 10:20, and then get in the car and try to leave before the last out to beat the traffic to get back to Kearny Mesa to Channel 8 and do the 11 o'clock sports, and get home and try try to unwind. You know that. You can't do that.
No.
You're
It's
not only
wired still.
are you just done a performance of 3 hours and your adrenaline is flowing, but then you have to go to sleep and perform at 7:15, and you're thinking about what am I going to do in the second segment, first segment, and it was insanity, and it was killing my marriages. I was never there. I was working all the time. And it killed my marriages, and I take full blame for all of that stuff. And it's the old, in this business that they want you to do something, do it, because there'll come a time they don't want you to do it, and you're yesterday's news, and you're gone. So I would say yes to everything, and it was too much, without question.
And, games on the weekends, and you're traveling.
Right.
Which is a whole nother level of the ball game.
Oh, yeah.
For the road trips and everything.
Yeah.
And yet you survived. So
I survived, and like I said, made good money. Gave it to my ex-wives. I was very generous, very generous. But that's another story for another time. And they're doing very well. They have beautiful homes in Orange County, Scottsdale, wherever, and they're doing well. But I have $42 in the bank. And
we'll do a GoFundMe for you. It's fine.
Exactly.
San Diego will make sure that
let's give this man.
You're taken well care of. The rest
money
of the time.
for food. Yeah. Please help him. But it was just a ball. I had a great time with great people, like I said, who supported me. And this audience in San Diego, they gave me my career, pure and simple. And they've taken care of me and said wonderful things on X about that contact and with their listening to Padre games with me and Jerry, and then with me, and same with the Aztecs over all of these years. And I thank you all so very much.
So in your last few years calling Padres baseball, you had a chance to work with our friend Jesse Agler.
You bet I did.
Very smart young man,
I
isn't he?
called him NASA.
So I don't know. People in our chat are wondering if you were ever in on it. So starting about 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
We developed a weekly segment. He would join us on Tuesday mornings, and we called it The Incorporator. And we would give Jesse a weird word that he had to work into the broadcast somewhere.
Had no business being in a baseball
Tuesday
game.
night.
I remember.
Something strange. You do remember it. So
I do remember,
the very first one, you guys were in Baltimore, just where the Padres were last week.
Right.
And the very first Incorporator word was mayonnaise. And he had to try to get mayonnaise into the broadcast.
Some time away from the game yesterday as well. Much to do here, of course. Walk around that inner harbor. Got a great aquarium, some great historic sites. Certainly you could grab a crab cake somewhere, and that is the regional delicacy of choice for a lot of people. You got to be careful, though, with your crab cakes. You don't want the ones with too much filler. Here's the 1-2, and a swing and a miss. Nunez strikes out. Now 2 down here in the bottom of the third inning. Second strikeout of the night for Logan Allen. So you got your crab meat, your lump crab meat, your mayonnaise, your breadcrumbs, your spices and herbs, all that goes into it. But sometimes too many breadcrumbs, too much filler, not as good. So you got to know where to go to get your great crab cakes. 2 outs and the base is empty. Padres leading 5-1 in the bottom of the third inning.
Thank you, Bobby Flay.
Yes. Well, a little bit of a foodie, a little bit of a food snob.
I'm a little bit of an eater. Snob's got nothing to do with it.
If like I said, if I had so much fun with my partners, and it was just, and I worked 2 years of the pay-per-view with Joe Garagiola. You talk about laughter, and Jerry Coleman and Bob Chandler and Dave Campbell and then Jesse. It was just absolutely kismet. It was so wonderful. And working with Jerry, every day, it's, Jerry, what'd you do today? Well, I got up and I walked. We changed hotels in Denver, so I'm walking around and I get lost in Denver because we're not at that hotel we're normally at. I know that, and I can't remember the hotel name. And so a police officer comes up to me and says, "You need some help, sir?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm with the Padres. We're here doing a broadcast, and they're playing the Rockies tonight, but I can't remember where we're staying." So it turned out we left the Hyatt because they were full with the convention, but we went to the Embassy Suites. So the officer says to Jerry, "Well, can you remember the name of the hotel or a word in there?" And Jerry says, "I think it's something like the NBC Suites." The NBC Suites. Cop says, "I don't know of any NBC Suites, but let's go walking around. Maybe something will jar your memory." And then he finally says, No, not NBC Suites. Embassy Suites. This is after the walking around.
I love the "What did you do today, Jerry" question. I look forward to it every broadcast.
And I would laugh
I'm
so
sure some
hard.
people hated it, but I loved it.
I would laugh so hard, and then I would tell him, "Hey, I wait out there after every game here at Wrigley Field, I cannot get a cab. How do you get a cab for us? Yesterday, we walked right out there, and he pulls up, and he stops right in front of us. The people have been waiting for a half hour. They're yelling, screaming at us. We're getting the cab. Jerry, how do you do that? And he says, well, first of all, you got to expose yourself. And I say, beg your pardon, Gracie? Those of you old enough to remember Gracie and George Burns and Gracie Allen. Well, what Gracie? You got to expose yourself. And now I'm choking on my Coke. I cannot say. What do you mean? And Jerry sees where I'm going. I know. You know what I mean. You got to expose yourself. You got to walk right out into the street and make the cabbie stop right there. And by exposing yourself that way, and we're laughing so hard, and then he realizes what he said, and he starts to go, and you can't. Like I said, I would have paid them not just to work with these guys, including Jesse.
So we've been chasing. Thank you, Bobby Flay. Was the perfect reaction to the first one. I think the other one, everyone wants to hear it. So I think it was maybe a few weeks later.
Yeah,
the word for Jesse was diphthong. Was the word that he had to work into the broadcast. Here's what it sounded like.
3-2, swing and a miss, back-to-back Ks. Yeah, the linguists out there.
Oh, they're always there.
The phonologists.
Always there. And I tried to remember the Gristedes supermarkets that are in New York City in Manhattan, kind of a little boutique. So I took that R and then remembered Gristedes to get Aristides.
Okay.
So far, so good.
Not bad at all. You got to do whatever you can.
By association, sure.
You got all the different things you have to worry about with that, your semivowels.
Yeah.
Your diphthongs, your triphthongs, your vowel breaking, all the different ways to say stuff. And you want to say it the right way for these guys.
I pulled my diphthong in college. Hey, you don't want to do that. I was out for like 6 weeks. Terrible.
Yes.
That absolutely floored us when we played that the next morning. And the whole time that Jesse was doing the incorporator with you in the booth, we were going, I wonder if Ted just catches on, or if Jesse views it as a challenge to just slip the words in and see if Ted even notices. And
I didn't know when they were coming, and I didn't know when the soliloquy would start, where he was going, or what he was slipping in there. And then when he slipped it in there, it was just, you shouldn't have that much fun. You should not be able to get paid.
He still does it today now with Tony Jr., and we try to see if Tony picks up on it or
Oh,
not.
there's no question. It's just absolutely amazing. And the times I worked with Tony Jr., who was Anthony my entire life.
Me too, yeah.
Yeah, he was always Anthony, and then he became Tony Jr., and to me, he'll always be Anthony. And we did a game in Washington, and it was my last year, in fact, 2020, and he said something. There's a way he says fastball. And you know who said that, of course. It was just like his dad was still here, and I heard it. And I went to the commercial break, and I turned my head because I started to cry when I heard Anthony sound as he does, just like his dad. And so I'm turning my head away from him, and he says, you okay? I said, yeah, I'm fine. And he looked at me, and I looked at him, and he said, I sounded just like my dad then, didn't I? I said, Anthony, you have no idea. And I could not maintain my composure. And the fact that we have him, and not just it's the old, you got the job because you're your dad. No. He's terrific and can analyze the you-know-what out of it and so great and just a great person. There's the laugh.
You still have the recording on your
I have
phone?
the recording of that laugh, which is from a segment of doing car commercials. That Tony is doing car commercials, Tony Sr. doing car commercials, and that laugh is just the most infectious thing in the world. It is on my iPhone, and it will always be on my iPhone.
I had a similar experience. It was probably a few months after Tony had passed away, and I had texted Anthony, who I also knew as Anthony.
Sure.
And he didn't get back to me right away, and I kind of forgotten about it. And I was driving to Channel 10. I remember exactly where I was in the car, and the phone rings in my car, and I don't see it, so I just hit the button. And I hear that I go, hello, and he goes, hey Ben, it's Tony Gwynn, and I almost crashed my car, and I go, oh, but you're dead, and then I finally go, oh, it's Anthony. It's because it sounded just like him.
No, it's fascinating.
And I was like, oh my God.
I have had that happen to me with many people who had passed away.
Yeah.
And you're at a banquet or luncheon, and you think you see them, someone that looks like them, and your first thought is, of course not, it can't be him. And gosh, the guy who played Mike Connors on the Mannix, the Mannix TV show, was always confused with the guy David Jansen who played The Fugitive. The
right,
TV show. And literally, after one had died, the other would still have people come up and say, "You're the guy who died." That's what they would say. Think how stupid that is. You're the guy who died.
You're the guy who died.
I know, you're the guy who died. No, that's not me, actually.
That's what people think that way, and that's what you heard when you heard Anthony, and it sounded so much like his dad. It was just absolutely amazing.
Ted, thank you so much for coming in. This has been fantastic.
I had a great time.
I would love to do it again. I'd love to do it when Woods is here because I think he would get an absolute ball about hearing some of these stories as well. He has become such a huge Padres fan.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
He lived up in Connecticut as well, in Texas, and then has come out here and made San Diego. He has embraced it fully. He's never leaving it, just like you've never left. And
who goes back to the real world?
Exactly.
After you've been in America's finest city, and come on.
Uncle Teddy, thank you so much.
Thank you,
was
boys.
so
I
fun.
appreciate
Ted
it.
Leitner, Padres Hall of Famer, ambassador, with a really fun last 80 minutes. Don't go away. We got a couple segments left. Eno Sarris is going to join us from The Athletic. We'll talk about the Padres' new bullpen coming up. All ahead after a check of traffic on 97.3 The Fan. Wow, what a fun last hour plus that was. A treat to have Ted Leitner in studio. He's still got the A game for sure.
Yeah, kidding me?
You get him going. I mean, that is I was stunned when he told us that he was a terrified public speaker growing up, that he cut school to avoid speaking in front of the class. And now he gets up in front of, an entire stadium full of people and can MC better than anyone I've ever seen in my life. And, of course, he's still got another season of Aztecs basketball coming up later this year. I hope it's a good one. He can go out on top. He's been fantastic. But he's not going nowhere. He's a part of this fabric of this community, and that was a real treat to have him in studio. We got Eno Sarris coming up in a second. I don't want to be an alarmist, Paulie, for Padres fans.
Uh-oh.
But I will say,
you're about to be an alarmist.
Well, after the game and after Mike Shildt had spoken last night, the Padres PR staff announced the pitching probables for the upcoming series against the Colorado Rockies. And right away, you can tell there's a change in the rotation. Randy Vasquez will start tomorrow's series opener. Then newcomer Martin Perez is going to start on Saturday. And then they listed Sunday as TBA. Now, the reason why, got my interest is that Michael King hasn't started since last Saturday. So he would definitely be in turn, even with the off days, to start sometime in this series. And the fact that the Padres aren't willing to commit to him even on Sunday with extra rest makes me wonder what's going on. And there can be different explanations for it. One, obviously, they've been watching his innings closely, and maybe they're using the off day and another one on Monday just to skip his turn in the rotation if they can, just to save some innings for later in the season. He's perfectly healthy. He's been pitching great. Right. That would probably be the best case scenario. There's also a strategic possibility. You got the Rockies, who are a last-place team. You're about to face the Pirates, who are a wild card contending team. Maybe you want to save him for the start of the road trip.
Get on board with that.
Against the Pirates. So maybe there's a strategic consideration, and if you have another option you can go with on Sunday, then maybe that's what the Padres are thinking. And then, of course, there's the alarmist, what can go wrong is going to go wrong. Is there something health-wise that is concerning about Michael King that is keeping him out of the probables for this upcoming series against the Colorado Rockies? Again, we don't know. They didn't address it. They left last night. That's all they left us with was two probables and a TBA and no further explanation. And I imagine we will ask Mike Shildt about it tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
I can't promise you that he'll get us an answer. But at some point, they're going to have to say something about Michael King and what's going on. So just something to keep an eye on, something to follow up on, and we'll certainly continue to look into it. Hopefully it's just nothing at all. Hopefully this is just smart strategy by the San Diego Padres going forward, but it is definitely worth at least noting to Padres fans in the audience. All right, when we come back, our Smart Baseball segment, Eno Sarris is going to join us, and I want to talk more about the new Padres relievers, their Stuff Plus numbers, what Eno thinks about these deadline deals, and how the Padres improved themselves at the trade deadline. We'll do that next here with Ben and Woods on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Couple quick questions in the chat about the speculation I just centered around Michael King and why he wasn't included in the probable starting pitchers for the upcoming series. Someone asked, well, could Joe Musgrove be starting? No, Padres said Joe Musgrove's going to start on Sunday, but somewhere in their minor league system on a rehab start. And then someone said, well, maybe Johnny Brito's coming up. Johnny Brito got lit up. 4 runs in 2/3 of an inning last night at AAA in his first start since they gave him a couple of weeks off with I think it was forearm tightness or something. So don't think he's starting on Sunday either. Now, I did get a tweet from Punkball76 who said, I spoke with Michael King last night. He's starting Sunday. Don't get your panties in a knot. So, I mean, take that for what it's worth. Maybe that makes you feel better. Thank you for that, Punkball.
Unknot your panties, then.
76. Eno Sarris is standing by. We'll get some smart baseball right after this check of traffic on 97.3 The Fan.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
Wrapping up our morning drive with a couple of problems along northbound 15. One of them is a mattress in the fast lane right before the 52. Up ahead, got a hit-and-run crash before the 56. It's over the right shoulder. I'm Kelly Danick with Ben and Wood, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3.
Been a couple of weeks. We had the All-Star break, and then Eno was on vacation last week, so it is a pleasure to welcome him back. Now, Eno, Woods is on vacation this week, so you got me and Paul, but how was your All-Star break? How was your vacation? What have you been up to?
It was good. I was up in Seattle, went all over the place, and packed a lot of stuff in, including a Mariners game right before the deadline when it seemed like they couldn't score a run. Yeah, it was a fun time.
So, Punkball 76's report notwithstanding, when you look at guys who are approaching innings career highs or exceeding them, like Garrett Crochet, like Michael King, it's an interesting dilemma, isn't it, for organizations that think, we're hoping to be in the playoffs, but we kind of need you to get there, but we also want you to be able to pitch once you get there. What do you kind of think about that juggling act that the Padres are going to have to do now for the last couple of months of the season?
Yeah, it is pretty interesting, and I think that's why, in the end, Garrett Crochet didn't move at the deadline, because people didn't know what to do with him. wouldn't know if they had him for the playoffs, because he's way past his skis in terms of innings pitched. In terms of Michael King, at least there's some precedent in way back in his career. In 2017, he threw 149 innings. In 2018, he was over 100. So, and he's been building to this point. So I do think, and he's a veteran too. It's not a kid that you're trying to get somewhere, So I think they'll be okay with him in the end. I'm not seeing any real drop off in the velo for Michael King, and another thing you would look for is a change in his release point. Those are things that people look for when they say that we're monitoring him and we're making sure. Over the course of this year, I'm just checking real quick. I have not. There's been a little bit of a drop in the release point, but not much. It's not much that I would get worried about. So I think he's fine, and they're trying to manage it and make sure they have him in October, because it's looking more and more like they'll get one of these wild card slots, and they're more competitive even in the division.
So obviously the Padres did not pick up a starting pitcher at the deadline, but they did add 3 relievers, including 2 really premium guys. And I know it's just 2 games against the Dodgers, but the bullpen factored in both. The comeback on Tuesday, Eno, when they could go to Matsui in the 5th and bring in Morahone even though they're down 2, and then Estrada and go aggressively. And yesterday we saw a couple of the new guys in Jason Adam, and we did see Hoeing. We still haven't even seen Tanner Scott. I wanted to get your impression on the Padres' moves, kind of the stuff plus numbers that we're seeing from some of the new guys that are coming in, and what you think the ultimate impact is going to be.
Well, they shot to the top of the market. Tanner Scott had the best stuff on the market in terms of relievers, and there's a lot of talk out there that maybe I saw the word fleeced and all this stuff. And I think, one, we know that A.J. Preller is really good at scouting, and that this organization will find some more players in this draft and the next. But also on top of that, there are some real questions about each of the players they gave up. I don't mean to speak ill of these players. They're better at baseball than I've ever been. But, Mazur's fastball may not have been good enough to be a starter. We saw that he struggled to strike guys out at the major league level. And Robbie Snelling, he's stuck at 92 miles an hour with poor vertical break on his fastball, 80-mile-an-hour slider. The number in the major leagues for a slider is 85. So he needs a lot of sort of velocity and development to get back some of the promise he had. Even if, the walk rate thing is not a big deal, he still has some other work to do on his stuff. So I think it was a good idea to go for it, given the composition of this roster. And another thing to remember, in today's baseball, relievers pitch half of the game. I mean, that's the average. If you're looking at innings across the baseball and whatever, relievers pitch half the innings. So to go out and get a bullpen now that's 5, 6 strong, 7 maybe, that's great. That's going to keep them in there if they have to take somebody out early. I think they also just thought, why go get a starting pitcher that's worse than, Joe Musgrove or Yu Darvish? Just hope to get those guys back and get them back to where they can be.
I have a question for you. We saw Alec Jacob come in yesterday, struck out the side in the 7th inning. Now, he does not throw hard at all, but I saw some writing about the extension that he has. And basically, can you explain, what that is and why it's important for relievers and what you think of Alec Jacob?
Yeah, extension is important. It's not the only thing. There is no only thing. You have velocity, you have vertical movement. These things are really important. All of them are important. One thing that extension does is just that you're giving the batter less time, and it can be a big deal. You're talking about a foot and a foot between some of the big extenders. Logan Gilbert throws 94, but he throws his extension 7 foot plus, maybe 7.5 feet.
So that means you're closer to the plate when you're releasing the ball, essentially shortening the distance and basically increasing the perceived speed from the perspective of the batter.
Yeah, exactly. And so, they've looked at this in terms of, there's a word of sort of perceived velocity. And it can be a difference of 2, 3, 4 miles an hour. Freddie Peralta is another guy who just jumps at you. Carter Capps, if anybody wants to open up the archives. But I think that you can be good without it. But who comes to mind if people want to think of the opposite of extension?
Dylan Cease.
Yeah, he short arms it, but also Padres legend Tyson Ross.
Okay, yeah, tall guy. You'd think he has a ton of extension, but not really.
But he didn't really use his legs. He didn't really get out there. He had a short extension. So that's part of the story on all these guys. And Snelling does not have great extension. And I think it's one of those things. Another reason that teams care about it is it's one of those things that I think it's just almost impossible to change. You know what I mean? You're talking about your mechanics. You're going to start leaping out there when you haven't done it ever. You've been throwing this way for years and years and years.
It's like rebuilding your golf swing from scratch. Almost no one does it. Yeah. Tiger did it once, which is one of the most incredible things about him, because you're essentially a different player once you rebuild your swing. You may not be the pitcher you were before. You may not be the golfer you were before. We're talking to Eno Sarris from The Athletic. Okay, so the Padres picked up some good relievers. Who else caught your eye at the deadline in terms of the moves when you look at some of your numbers and pitchers especially that were changing teams?
Well, I think that, it wasn't pitchers, but the Mariners, when I saw them last Tuesday, I thought that maybe Logan Gilbert had to throw a no-hitter for them to win. And the vibe around the team was, we can't score a run. They go out and they get Randy Arozarena, Justin Turner, And, it's not just them. Like, those two guys haven't had all the hits, but there's something also to be a buyer at the deadline where the team says, all right, let's go. Like, the management believes in us. And they've scored a bunch more runs since that day. And it, it was a big vibe change, I think, for them. Otherwise, I thought that the Red Sox did a pretty good job they got like the number 2 and number 4 guys, reliever-wise, that were available in terms of Stuff Plus, and they paid like a smaller price for it. I like Lucas Sims. I like Luis Garcia. Padres fans should like Luis Garcia. So, those are two guys that they got on the cheap. That stuck out for me. I like what the Orioles did with Eloy Jimenez because why not make a strength better? I like what they did with Zach Eflin, but I didn't like what they did with Trevor Rogers. I think they gave up, a little bit too much for a guy that I'm not sure will be in the rotation for the rest of his contract. So, I think even in one team, you'll have some swings and misses.
Feels like the Cardinals. I know what you think about Eric Fetty. Obviously, Tommy Pham's had an outsized impact in just 2 games, but it doesn't feel like they gave up much to improve their team.
Yeah, and that also created something that people should look at in terms of they had to keep the money the same. And so when you're thinking, why did my team get this player or that player, or Blake Snell was available? Well, and you don't have to pay the whole $30 million. You only have to pay 2 months of it. Well, these people have budgets. These GMs have budgets. They, and so what I thought the Cardinals did that was so amazing was they pretty much stayed budget neutral by taking Tommy Edman, who'd become a little bit expendable given that they have Brendan Donovan playing all over the place. They have Mason Wynn at short. They like their center fielders. So they took that Edman money and they turned it into a starting pitcher that they sorely needed for next year as well, and an extra bat. So I thought that was really smart. On the Dodgers end, they needed a shortstop, and buying a shortstop at the deadline is really hard and not usually done. If Edman gets back to where he was, he can be league average with the glove and league average with the bat, and that would be huge for them to have a shortstop like that. So I thought the Dodgers did pretty well at the deadline too.
And since we haven't talked to you since the MLB draft, I don't know how much you got into some of the draft picks, but do you have any thoughts on obviously the Padres' first round pitch, the big left-handed pitcher Cash Mayfield, who they have already signed, and then another lefty from high school in the second round in Boston, Bateman. He's signed as well. Anything notable from the draft that you can share?
Not too much. I like Trey Savage. I have some stuff plus numbers on him, and he went to the Blue Jays after he dropped a little bit to like 14 or something, and I thought that was a good pick. Interesting that they took a high school pitcher in the second. In this draft, it was 80% college, 20% high school. And so
AJ marches to the beat of his own drummer.
I mean, yeah, yes, he does. But that also means that maybe he saw an opportunity there that other people had passed on this high school arm and shouldn't have.
Eno, appreciate it. We'll let you go. Thank you for adjusting your schedule for us this week, and we'll talk to you again next Thursday.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
There he is, Eno Sarris, our super polished, yet-to-be-named Smart Baseball Weekly segment brought to you by 7 Mile Casino. So it seems like, Paulie, he was pretty high on the additions. And an interesting point when you think about it. Yes, the Padres need starting pitching, and I see the chat. Yeah, they got Martin Perez. Anyone could have got Martin Perez for nothing. That doesn't really count. You didn't address starting pitching by getting Martin Perez. He's just an arm. They have plenty of arms you can throw out there. You want good arms that can actually get outs. But half of the game essentially is now relief pitching. Even if the starter goes 6, you count extra innings as well. By the time the season is over, it's the
exception, no longer the rule for a starter to go 7 plus.
It's 5 a lot. Sometimes it's shorter. Sometimes the game goes extra innings. So by the time the season is over, you'll find that relief pitchers throw just about as many innings as starting pitchers. So why isn't it just as important? We all think, the rotation's the most important thing, and then you figure out the bullpen. But your bullpen is eating as many innings as your starting rotation. So
brain's still adjusting to the new style of baseball. I think traditionally
Sure.
that was how you thought of how you viewed the game, and it's changed.
Yeah, I mean, if your starters are not getting the job done, you're going to overwork your bullpen, and they'll get tired at the end of the season. But now the Padres have depth. I mean, Alec Jacob is essentially the number 7 reliever in the bullpen right now. And he came in and he struck out the side of the Dodgers in the 7th inning. That is a lot of options that Mike Shildt and Ruben Niebla can go with now. And they can keep guys fresh because you're not punting on a game because you're bringing in Logan Gillespie and Stephen Kolek. You are putting in a high-quality reliever pretty much no matter what. If you're down 5, put in someone. They're probably a pretty good reliever at this point. There are no games where you're going, well, this guy can just eat some innings. Daniel De Los Santos, go give up 3 home runs. We're just going to lose this one. You don't have any of those guys left in the bullpen. They're all guys you kind of feel pretty good about if they go into the game. By the way, very opportune time for some tendonitis to crop up for Stephen Kolek. Because even though he's a Rule 5 draft pick, since he's been on the roster for at least 90 days, the Padres do not have to offer him back to the Mariners. And as long as he's still hurt...
You think phantom?
No. They would not do that. That's against the rules, Paulie. That you can't. You have to have an injury. The real story is, at this point, pretty much every pitcher has an injury.
Right.
Either they're pitching through it or they're not pitching through it. But there's not a pitcher out there who's 100% healthy at this point. So you don't have to really make up an injury. My guess is he didn't suddenly develop something, but he's probably been kind of just nursing it for a while. And then they said, we don't need you to nurse it anymore. Take your time, get healthy on the injured list, and then we'll welcome you back, or we won't welcome you back, but we will now have your rights
TBD.
going into next season. Another arm that's available out of the bullpen. Great show today. Obviously, Ted Leitner made it, but thanks to Adam Jones and Eno Sarris as well.
That was a fun one.
We will have Jordan tomorrow from Cespedes Family Barbecue, I believe.
Yes,
and
Jordan
then
and Mike Shildt.
Mike Shildt at 9 o'clock. Annie and Elston coming up next. For Paul Reindl, I'm Ben Higgins. Have a great rest of your Thursday from all of us here at 97.3 The Fan. So long.